What's good? What's good, chat? Let me see. Let me check the comments. Okay, we just got D Willis. What's up, D Willis? We're gonna wait for a couple more people to get in here before we get started. Um, whew, this has been a we've been working to get this one going. I tell you that much. But I'm ready. I'm ready. Um, what's good, Gabriel? Like I put in the like I pinned in the chat. We're gonna have a conversation that we've already prepared, me and the guests. So be advised, we are uh we're respecting the chat, but we also want you guys to be mindful of the conversation we're about to have. And if you want your question to be answered pretty much in that time as it flows with the conversation, please send that as a super chat. It does not have to be a crazy amount. It can be the $2 or whatever the cheapest super chat is. We just don't want to break the flow of what the conversation we're trying to have while minding the chat, if that makes sense. We wanted to do it live so you guys could experience it in real time, but we also want to get this information out in the way we prepared it. So if you do have a question that cannot wait, please send it as a super chat as we're having a conversation. But I do want to shout out the people who are in the chat now. Shout out to Dr. Keisha, DJ Jenny Beans, Gen X Gemini, Jessica Danae, Gabriel, like I already said, and D Willis. Shout out to Slade. What's good with you? Go ahead and share the link out. And just like Slade said, do not forget to press that like button. It pushes us out to the algorithm. So we'll greatly appreciate that. And if you want to get this out, go ahead and share it now. Let me do that as well. Let me post it on my Facebook. Have you shared it anyway yet, Foxy?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
I shared it on my channel.
Okay, give me 1 second. Let me post it on my Facebook. And we'll go ahead and get started. It's enough people to get started. Okay. Mark Arrington was good from Georgia. Miss Daly. And once again, I want to say before we start, like I pinned it, be sure if you want to leave a comment that you have to have responded to in that moment as we have this conversation, be sure to leave it as a super chat, whatever amount you want to, because and that just assures that the question is important enough to contribute to the conversation we're having. And Slade says, shout out to all the Gemini twins for sure. So without further ado, let's get started. As y'all know, I am Skip, and welcome to Deciphered. And today we are doing a conversation, a thought piece, if you will, Kendrick Lamar and the duality of the Gemini spirit. And I call this a collaborative presentation because we have a guest today. For all my YouTubers who have been watching us, I'm sure you've seen her in the comments already and probably checked out her content. Welcome to the Deciphered show, Foxy Blue. Real quick, I got something for you. Hold on. Can you hear that? Can you hear that? Probably not. Okay, but it was a hand clap. I tried to put it in there. But how you doing, Foxy?
Good, good. I'm doing well. Thanks everybody for being here. Thanks, Skip. This is an honor for you to share your time and your space with me. I'm Foxy Blue. I'm an energy reader, and I'm an intuitive empath. And so I'm here, to share my thoughts and give my input, collaboratively, so that we can open our minds and hearts to looking at things in different ways, different aspects.
Okay, for sure. And if you want to, just give them a little background about yourself before we get started.
Well, for many years I knew I was an intuitive, empath, but I, fought against it, so I, no matter what job I had, I wasn't happy. Even if it was a good job, and some inner turmoil to be in the right path, my right life path to do your gift, And so when you hear that voice to do your gift, the universe, God, is trying to put you in alignment with your assignment. So I decided to follow my gift, my calling, and be a creator, content creator, and share my gift and help people. So I'm here. So I'm happy to have the opportunity to speak with everybody. And hello, everybody. Thanks for being here again.
For sure, for sure. And show some love to Foxy Blue in the chat. And if you haven't yet, go check out her channel and be sure to subscribe. But let's get into this. Being that we all know Kendrick Lamar's recent year has been a year of revelation and exposure to a certain extent. But a big part of that was the big three, that moniker. But we want to speak about a different big three. And Foxy, go ahead and tell us about Kendrick's internal big three.
Okay, so Kendrick, if you're not familiar with a birth chart, it's something that tells you a little bit about yourself and what your interests are, your passion, and it kind of, explains, all that you are comprised of. Like we are, our main sign is a sun sign, but we have other placements, in our birth chart that indicates your personality. Kendrick is a Gemini, June 17th, and his sun sign, the sun, moon, and rising, those are what we in astrology call the big three. So everyone has a big three, sun, moon, and rising. His sun is Gemini. Gemini is talented, is inquisitive, impulsive, a little bit of, open minded, like too versatile, likes to do a lot of things. And it's also, with that, it causes impulsivity. Gemini also is analytical. So analyzing everything. And that's what takes sometimes a Gemini time to make a decision. His moon is in Pisces, and that's emotion. And believe it or not, Kendrick is extremely sensitive, and all these things are going to be evident in our analysis. So Pisces are sensitive; they're the dreamers, big dreams, led by emotion. It's a water sign. And by the way, Geminis are air sign. I myself am an air sign. I'm an Aquarius. And his rising is Libra. Libra is always searching for balance, for peace and harmony at all costs. His life path, his birth life path number is 3. And people with life path 3, they cannot have regular jobs. They want, freedom of creativity, and they challenge norms. And he is in Deacon 3, which means his birthday. There's 3 types of Gemini. On my page, I have a video that explains the deacons. If you meet a Gemini that's kind of quiet, reserved, you're not acting like a regular Gemini. It's because all the signs are divided into 3 deacons depending on when your birthday is. And he's in Deacon 3, which is, revolutionary for change, for changing norms and just being an authentic and looking for the truth. So that's a little bit of an explanation on Kendrick and his big 3. So again, sun is Gemini, moon is Pisces, and his rising is Libra. And I just want to mention that his descendant sign, the opposite of the rising, is Aries. So that explains his crash out. If you know, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I have a few just simple character traits of Gemini. Communication. Geminis are known for being communicative, witty and articulate. Adaptability. Geminis are adaptable and can thrive in changing situations. Curiosity. Geminis are known for being curious and inquisitive. They are always asking new questions and have a childlike curiosity. Intelligence. Geminis are known for being intelligent and quick thinking. They are perceptive and analytical and can pick up knowledge quickly. Imagination. They are also known for having multifaceted hobbies, interests, and talents. And the last one, like you said, impulsiveness. Geminis can be impulsive and value freedom and spontaneity. Their decisions are often driven by the desire to experience everything life has to offer. Okay. All right. I had some references that he spoke on being a Gemini and some songs from projects that we didn't necessarily use. And if I could, I want to go through those really quickly, and then we can get started with any references you have, and then start from section 80.
Okay.
Okay. And this is why I thought that this would be important to do when I reached out to you, because he mentions this so much that I felt like it had to be some type of underlying thread. And then, of course, knowing his music, I started to line it up in my head, and I was like, okay, I know who I want to talk to about this.
Yeah.
But the first one was in the heart part one. He said, very emotional. I'm a Gemini. I love hard and fight harder. I'm a born Arthur. And in family ties, he said, yeah, Kanye changed his life, but me, I'm still an old school Gemini. And with what he did in GNX, I 100% understand what he meant, along with the beef with Drake. And What's Wrong, which was a song he featured on by Isaiah Rashad, he said, pardon me, see, my alter ego is Gemini. Him and I been around ever since Reagan was criticized. And lastly, on Wesley's theory, he say, horoscope is a Gemini, two sides. Do you have any references of him speaking on himself as a Gemini that we're not gonna speak on? In the
No, I think it's comical because that's why he's been trying to explain to us why he acts the way he acts, and that some
Mhm.
people can't put a finger on it. Like, he's so calm and he's dancing with the kids and smiling, and how could this man be responsible for ending all these people's careers? So I think it's funny that he's been trying to explain a Gemini, but hopefully after today, we will have more of a better understanding.
All right, let's get to it. Let's get to it. The first album that we're gonna discuss, in part, because we didn't fully go through this album all the way, which is going to be Section 80, and the first song is gonna be Poor Man's Dreams. And I'll let you go ahead and go through this one first, and I'll follow up behind you.
Okay, so Section 80 is an ode to, I think, the 80s. He's always referencing the time where he was born, and also it's an ode to Section 8, housing.
Mhm.
80 and 8, the zero is in parentheses, which is, speaking about poverty and speaking about the struggles that he's had and how he's dealt with them, and how he's trying to he was always trying to make it out and, take care of his mama, as he always says. In Poor Man's Dream, the dichotomy begins because one of the lines was, how am I going to listen when I don't even hear God? So it's
Mhm.
like sometimes he pushes God away when he crashes out, or people test him, or he doesn't have money, growing up in the Nickersons, and then but at the same time, throughout that whole song, he keeps saying, smoke good, eat good, live good. I want my uncle who's in jail to make sure he eats well. I want my mama. I don't want my dad having to work, and sell, in the chicken spot, So he keeps, he's trying to save himself and save others. And then the next duality that I have is when he says, don't call me lyrical. Imagine that. We will always call you lyrical,
And
Kendrick.
and that
Stop
was
it.
a line I attached to
Yeah,
as well.
and for me, it's like, because I'm really just a ninja that's evil and spiritual.
Mhm.
That's it. That is exactly, if you want to start understanding Kendrick, he has been going through a spiritual journey, and he's learning to take accountability and do shadow work, and be empathetic, and be responsible for his actions, and care about how his actions in the past have hurt people, and taking accountability. That's shadow work, and he wants to help people, believe it or not. And so he has this fight
Mhm.
with himself, with evil, and the evil thoughts, and God, and listening to God. That's his battle through all his discography.
Mhm. And on this song, he had another line that attracted me too. He said, "The city got my back, and for that I give him my torso." You think about it, and basically saying he would give his heart, to the city, and he's always stayed true to that um, throughout his career. But I wrote Kendrick speaks um, from multiple perspectives in this song. This song serves as an uplifting point of view of him finding resolve and perseverance in his pursuit to be a great rapper and musician, to make the lives of those around him easier, as you said. And he says in the chorus, and even the ones who are in prison from the side effects of the mad city he was groomed in. He vows to give his heart to the city as long as they have his back. And the "Don't Call Me Lyrical, really I'm just a brother that's evil and spiritual," that speaks to his duality in one of the most overt ways that he has done throughout his entire catalog. Um, Basically just splitting it up of, I'm living this human experience, so I can't be one without the other. And it also is kind of like a dig at a lot of rappers who rap to rap. Really,
Right.
I'm just really speaking on me juggling these two sides of my being. And that's where most of my concept comes from as an artist.
He has a line that I forgot to mention. I penetrate the hearts of good kids and criminals.
Hmm.
So his audience is doing the human experience, which is that duality of Gemini, but not of all of us.
Hmm. And he said, you can bear witness as I bear feet, so you can walk in my shoes and get to know me. Like, and I feel like that's a part of his music that people miss, because like I was saying yesterday when we were doing pre-production, most of his music is about the human experience.
Hmm.
He's just finding a way to craft it, and instead of preaching to you, he gives it from his perspective. Like,
Right.
he puts his life in his music, so from that you can learn through his experience as opposed to preaching. Is that all you got from that song
Yeah,
as
he's
far as the
vulnerable,
notes?
and he's vulnerable and transparent, and that's
Okay,
why we love him, because he's interpersonal. We can relate.
true,
Yeah,
true.
that's pretty much
Let's
all I have for that too.
All right, let's move to the next one, Kush and Corinthians, and I'm gonna let you start this one off as well.
Kush and Corinthians. So the duality of Kush and Corinthians is, it's almost like he, for me, Corinthians is written, is Paul the apostle, for the people that understand some of the biblical terms, was writing because the Corinthians were off the hook. There was disorder and chaos, and he was telling them, like, repent, and just, this is what's wrong, and finding solutions for them. And in this song, Kendrick is trying to fight, be on the straight and narrow path, but also trying to fight his vices.
Hmm.
um and so that duality of him always trying to do the right thing, but being always tempted because of his surrounding. But he's also like Paul, because Paul has one of the most important lines, that has been used in a lot of weddings, like love is kind, love is
Hmm.
gentle, and that moniker has been used. So that is the same message, believe it or not, that Kendrick has, that he knows. And when he preaches, I think, in Kush and Corinthians, he's also talking about himself mostly, and he's trying to follow what he knows is the right thing. But there's so many vices. And in this song, he shows us that even though he keeps battling both, he keeps trying, he doesn't give up. He keeps trying. And that's what I have for Kush and Corinthians.
Okay, that was a quote that he had, and I just want to give this little quick excerpt before I get into it. On the first verse of this song, Kendrick questions his purpose, and goes as far to question if his life is pleasing to God and if God will look upon Kendrick in heaven and welcome him home. The title itself speaks to duality of the flesh and spirit, Kush and Corinthians. And the quote that I'm speaking to is, to the meaning of life, what's my purpose? Maybe this earth ain't a good place to be. How far is heaven? Let's see. Is it in the clouds like they said it would be? I wonder when I die, will he give me receipts? I wonder will the eyes of the Lord look at me? Look at me. Look at me. I'm a loser. I'm a winner. I'm good. I'm bad. I'm a Christian. I'm a sinner. I'm humble. I'm loud. I'm righteous. I'm a killer. What I'm doing, I'm saying that I'm human.
Right.
And man,
Wow.
yeah, that's all you can say. It's like when he says it, he doesn't make it so cryptic. Like he speaks in a way that's direct. It's just things that I think some people just aren't willing to sit down and embrace from the music that they listen to. But that has that duality all the way through it. Him just speaking on both of those sides he clashes with throughout his experience. And with him saying what I'm doing is showing you that I'm human is, I think a lot of the purpose of this album, Section 80, was to discuss and just let people know that he was human as he, spoke on different people who were going through things and just showing the human condition as with the highs and lows of people that were around him as well. What do you
Right.
think about that part?
Yeah. He is just trying to survive, you know. He's trying to survive and also to make it. You know, he knew he was good, he was different from the beginning because he took on the responsibility of always trying to help his family. He's talking about his uncle, like in the previous song, he was talking about saving his, making sure everybody eats good, smokes good, you know. How, who gave you that responsibility? So that means he felt it. He felt that he has to live by example. He put more pressure on himself than people have, because
Mhm,
he knew that he was gifted, he knew that he was different and that he could make it, and he could, you know, make a change. And that's why he's relentless. The one thing he keeps going back to is helping his city, helping his other
mhm.
people, because he's seen a lot of people that are talented like him. And for crying out loud, you know, J Rock was the one that was supposed to be, you know, the
The
famous
one, yeah.
Kendrick, you know. And J Rock's job was to open the door. And but Kendrick is so loyal that he brings him back. You know, he's trying to put him in the pop out show. He's putting, you know, incorporating TDE. Even he doesn't want to leave anybody behind. So
Mhm.
that's
'Cause-
what I got from that.
Yeah. And if you're ready, we'll go ahead and go to high power and
Okay.
finish up section 80. Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead with
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
So high power, he intentionally put three eyes, you know,
Mhm.
which represent the three fingers to me. Like, you know, and he in an interview was explaining that the eyes are heart, honor, and respect. In
Okay.
high power, I feel like he wants us to regain our power. He makes mention about all the stuff they're teaching you in school. That's half the truth.
Mhm.
Stand for something or die in the morning is the first real thing, like the first thing. And it's the dichotomy between choosing to be Martin Luther King, like he says, vision of Martin Luther staring at me, Malcolm X, put a hex on my future, someone catch me. You know, so he's always, and he picked the perfect people to describe him. He's trying
Mhm.
to be peaceful and help, or he might have to, when that doesn't work, because a lot of people are like, why does he go so hard against Drake and people like that dishonor him? Because if you really believe in good, you have to fight evil, because there's always, evil's going to keep tempting you to get off your path.
Mhm.
And he wants to be an authentic path. He wants to us to remember to have our heart, meaning do your passion, with honor, and demand your respect. And so in high power, it's like take your power back, stand in your power. And it takes a person a while to stand in their power, you know, by again doing shadow work and acknowledging who you are, and because, and why do you attract the same type of people, right? So he cannot resonate with people that are not authentic. He cannot resonate with people that are fake, because that's not powerful, you know. And power is also keeping the culture alive. He
Mhm.
says, I be off the slave ship, building pyramids, writing my own hieroglyphics. He wants us to rewrite our story. Don't let people that are not from the culture take over and tell us how hip hop is supposed to be. Hip hop battles, we're not supposed to be suing people. We'll say, put a pin on that for later. But he's like, take your power. Wait, what is that first line? He said, stand for something or die in the morning. Die means the culture's gonna die. What you stand for is gonna die. You
Mhm.
know? And this is a song that needs to be heard by everybody, no matter what nationality you are, you know.
I agree.
Um, and the duality that I have is where he says, "Dear Lord, come save me. The devil's working," you know. And
Probably clocking
sometimes,
double shifts on all of his jobs.
yes, there's always, no matter what he tries to do, someone always tries to take him off, or just test him, constantly test him, because he's a chosen one, you know. And I speak about that on my channel. How to know that you're a chosen one to do something different. He was picked to be the famous one in his family, and they picked the right one because he is helping, you know. But yeah, I think this is a proclamation of taking your power, and
Okay.
what do you stand for? What is your passion too? To be your authentic self, not be somebody's, work for somebody. You know, build your own and write your own story, your own hieroglyphics. That's really deep.
Yeah, and I do have another symbol of what I initially thought the three eyes were, and he gave a hint from what I could assume are the three pillars of the three founding pillars of the Black Panther Party.
That's true.
Um, Huey Newton. Who else did he say? Huey Newton going stupid, you can't resist it. Fred Hampton on your campus, and
Hmm.
Bobby Seale making meals. Like, so when I heard it, I always attributed the three eyes to being the three pillars of the Black Panther Party, especially because then Black Hippie was, at least him and Absol were on a very militant
Yes, they
movement.
were.
So that's kind of how I took that. But the part of the verse that I wanted to pull from, he said, "Visions of Martin Luther staring at me. If I see it how he see it, that'll make my parents happy. Sorry, mama, I can't turn the other cheek. They want to knock me off the edge like a effing widow's peak." And she
Right.
always told me, "Pray for the weak. The demons got me. I ain't prayed in some weeks." And then it goes into the part that we just spoke of. Then he says, enough to drive a man insane. I need a license to kill. So it shows the duality again of him fighting for, really, of him comparing himself to the Malcolm and Martin, like you said earlier, but just to the spiritual battle of, like Jesus said, turn the other cheek. But he said, "I'm
Right.
sorry, I can't do it." So in this moment, what he said something about the revolutionary soul, and that's the part that he's channeling on this verse as well. So yeah, the duality definitely sits in this one as well, where he's battling the pacifist versus the revolutionary.
I've heard that explanation of him as well on
Mhm.
interview. He can go on and on. Um, like he said, my blick first, then God got me.
Y'all got me.
He's like, I'd rather pray for forgiveness.
But if I got to,
Yeah,
I'll
if I
put you
have
down
to.
if I need to.
He dances
Okay.
back and forth with salvation. He's funny.
Oh, real quick, elbow. No, there is no Gemini representation on the panel. Sorry, but it is enough of y'all in the chat to hold us down. So sorry that we don't have a Gemini on the panel. But before we segue into um damn, do you have any closing thoughts on Section 80?
No, section 80 was like almost like a good kid, Mad City part
Okay.
two. To me, it correlates with it well. And
Okay.
by the way, to answer that question, I have Gemini in my chart, in my natal chart. So I have part. So
Well, tell them
you
technically
have
we
some
got it.
representation.
Okay, we got it. We got it. We're about to go into damn.
Okay.
I'm gonna let you go first again, but real quick, I just want to set the table. This is the album in which Kendrick most overtly expresses the duality of his spirit versus his flesh, his wants versus his need, and his upbringing versus his present life and set of ideals. And off that, if you have any thoughts to build upon that, go ahead. But if not, just go into whatever song you want to start with.
Yeah, Dan was showing the ultimate Gemini. If you got the the CD, like, if you got the vinyl, whatever, like we did, the front cover, it looks like a menacing
Mm-hmm.
Gemini. It looks like, and it's in red, so that's the red button. If you turn the cover is a duality. The back cover, the sun is shining. And by the way, the front cover is very dark. It's
Mm-hmm.
cloudy. The back cover is green. He has green, some type of green outline or something. The sun is shining. His head is up, which means I'm here to help. I'm a helpful person, like, one of those Starbucks workers that are extra happy, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, yeah, I'm here to help. And then the front is try me if you dare,
Mm-hmm.
try me, and he looks menacing. He looks insane in the front cover.
Yeah.
So,
He also kind of looks to me a little weary
yeah,
on that
concerned.
front cover. Yeah.
Like, I'm tired of trying to save y'all. I'm tired of trying to save y'all ninjas. Like, this is a hard job. Like, every time I turn around, y'all mess things up. So, I have the song "Feel." The
Okay.
song "Feel," which it's the antithesis of the cover in a way, because the cover is like, I'm ready to fight and I'm tired of y'all, like, I'm sick and tired of this, and not a helpful person. But "Feel," he opens up. It's one of my favorite songs, and it's almost sad, because he shows up. He in a lot of the songs on Damn, he shows, like, his versatility and, confidence and love, love and lust and all of
Mm-hmm.
this. But in this one, he's like, ain't nobody praying for me. He started to be, feel fame, and he started to feel the pressures of money and the pressures
Mm-hmm.
of trying to help your family, trying to, be people's savior. You understand? Because but he's still trying to give you advice. He can't help himself. Like, when he says, fill up the, he was saying, fill up the,
The banks with fill up the banks with dollars, fill up
right, the
the
babies
prisons with
with
fathers.
and the grace with fathers and the babies with BS. You understand? He's concerned about, that we're not aware as a people, of our health. Health is wealth, and, emotional health. And he's one of the first people that I commend, because, it's not kind of popular for rappers to talk about mental health, it seems,
Mhm.
and the fact that he said it's okay. I've been to therapy, in the future chapters, he in the future albums, he Mr. Morale, he explains that he's gone to therapy, because think about what this guy's dealing with. He keeps saying, my grandma's dead, ain't nobody praying for me,
Mhm.
and but at the same time, he needs people just like people need him. We He realizes how an affection and his words are, how powerful his words are, and people gravitate towards him and hold on to them, and people telling him the fame, oh my God, your song made such a difference with me. And then who does he go to? Who does Kendrick Lamar go to when, he needs to be vulnerable, and all the burdens of fame, and the responsibilities? It's like he almost regrets fame, because he didn't have to worry about just by himself, when he was growing up. And now everybody's looking for him, and he's seen the paparazzi, everything is judged that he
Mhm.
does. So, you know, I feel like I can't breathe. I feel like I can't sleep. This is a serious cry for help. Um,
Yeah. And just think, J. Cole felt like that off sending a diss song. We're not gonna stay on it long. I just wanted to say that. I just
No,
wanted
yeah,
to.
I'm not gonna stay on the Cowardly Lion from the Wizard of Oz. I'm not gonna, because as soon as somebody yells fire, he's out of there. He's like, no, I'm a
Mhm.
lion on TV, not when when the cameras are rolling. But yeah, so that's basically one of the things that I have. But there's so much there's so much duality, like with the intro on the song on Blood, right? um where we're trying to figure out what's going on. He's like, yesterday or whatever, I saw a lady, and then it ends with like a shot.
Mhm.
And just the duality of, you could listen to the album forward and backwards. He is such a Gemini.
I
Such a
I
Gemini.
I think I figured out, and this could be one of the many meanings because he said there was a lot of meanings to it, right? If you
Yes.
remember before, if I'm not mistaken, before Triple X starts, he says pride's gonna get you killed. I mean,
Yes.
love's gonna get you killed, but pride's gonna be the death of
The,
you.
the
I think
death of
that was what
of
the
you and
shot
me.
was. Yeah,
Yes.
I think that's what the shot was at the beginning.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
love goes forward with the album, but pride is the reverse. You know what I
Right.
mean? So if you listen to it backwards way, and he starts with Duckworth, and we'll talk about it once we get to it in more detail. But that version, he's speaking from a position of pride and hubris when you hear Duckworth. It doesn't sound how it would sound at the end of the album, as opposed to it being the intro. And once
Right.
he gets to the end, he's killed because he's lost his life due to the pride. But if you
Right.
go the other way and start with Blood first and end with Duckworth, it's the
Right.
love that can get him killed, and that love being the love for his people, you know,
Exactly.
and that could ultimately end up being him dying inside. You know what I mean? So if he's
Right.
not able to build on himself and continually giving to the people, he will run out of stuff and spiritually die because he doesn't have anything left to give because he dedicated it all to the people. And then he'll
Right.
turn into a shell of his former self, which is a death in a way.
Right. And with that, in the song Element, he's trying to maintain his essence and his
Mhm.
element. And they won't get me out my element. And it's like, sometimes he does get out of his element, because he's
Mhm.
like, if I'm gonna slap someone, a ninja, I'm gonna make it look sexy. That's not supposed to be normal. That's not supposed to be normal, because you're not gonna get me out of my element. I'm gonna
But
be
if you
smooth, and
do,
I'm gonna go back to being spiritual.
but
you
oh,
know,
if you do, I gotta have fun with it because I'm betraying who I am. So
right?
if you bring me to that space, just know I'm gonna enjoy it.
I'm gonna enjoy it. It's like he kills you with a joke and a smile. He's one of the few people that will give you a joke as he's trying to kill you. He's always being
Mhm.
funny with when he's being savage. In DNA, he talks about everything that he is too. Like, we're kings and queens. Like, regain your power, people. There's royalty in my DNA, but at the same time, he's open. He also knows that he could be an a-hole. He
Mhm.
admits to that. And then in that other song, he's quoting some Bible verses. He's like,
Mhm.
we've all been cursed. you know he is trying to make people open their mind and seeing, like, look at your sins, look at what you do, be responsible for who you are. If you're a liar,
Mhm.
just know that you're a liar, and go fix it. you know and he doesn't have the patience for people that are not taking accountability and not being
Mhm.
authentic. He doesn't have the patience for fakes.
And
you
I
know
think at this point he hadn't fully learned how to extend grace yet.
right.
And I think through his process of Mr. Morale is when he learned how to give grace. And we'll talk about that later, but I,
Right.
I think at this point he hadn't learned how to extend grace.
Right. So that's what I have for the duality of damn.
Okay. Ooh, okay, so I'm gonna try to redact some of mine if I can, but if
Yeah, go
not,
ahead.
I'm gonna just run it off. Okay, so for DNA, the first verse speaks to the duality of him deep rooted to his DNA. Okay, so cocaine quarter piece, I got war and peace inside my DNA. I got power, poison, pain, and joy inside my DNA. I got hustle though ambition flow inside my DNA. I was born like this, since one like this, immaculate conception. I transform like this, perform like this, was Yahshua's new weapon, which also speaks to what some people would call his savior complex. But
Right.
he says, I don't contemplate, I meditate, then off your effing head. This that put the kids to bed. This that I got realness. I just killed this because it's in my DNA. I got millions. I got riches building in my DNA. Most importantly, I got dark. I got evil that rot inside my DNA. I got
Right.
off. I got troublesome heart inside my DNA. So while he speaks to all of these positive things to be proud of and to aspire to maintain, he also has dark, evil, and troublesome thoughts. Well, a troublesome heart inside his DNA as well that he has to struggle with.
Right. He is in full he's ascending as a person.
Mhm,
In them, he's ascending. He thought in Good Kid Mad City, he thought in his city that he has seen evils, and now he's been introduced to new evils of fame and rich people and all this, culture vultures. And he, is fighting through it and saying that sometimes he has to be a savage,
mhm,
because it's like he's trying to decide which is worse, being poor and being, shot at and fighting gangs, etc., trying not to be a part of gangs, versus fighting corporate America and corporate and all these people stealing your, your just your culture, stealing your essence and putting it up for sale. Like, well, you have to, do these numbers, and he doesn't like the industry. He's like, y'all can all go to hell. Like, he doesn't. He just wants to be an artist and have enough money and live a comfortable life, but he doesn't. He's disappointed, I think, in them, with all the fakeness. That's why humble, you know, he written songs like "Be Humble," and
mhm.
he's like a gangster pastor because
Yeah.
how he was saying, "Be humble, bitch," So he's like, "I won't tell you that because I'm your friend." So he sees the duality of his environment. Now he's seeing the duality of his life.
Mhm, and he's been around the world by this point too, because he went to Africa while he was preparing to pimp a butterfly. So now he's seen enough to really understand, you know, that doesn't much change about the human outside of the environment. And I think his trip to Africa did a lot to show him that. And also as he rose up, you know, with his stardom in hip hop, he started to see that the people just had more money. And sometimes um the soul of the person was darker the richer they got,
Right,
and the verse of what does it gain a man uh I mean, what is it for a man to gain the world and lose his soul? I think
right,
he saw a lot of that in the music industry,
yeah,
and he kind of addresses that in the final verse of Feel, which is also probably one of my top 5 written songs from Kendrick Lamar, which is
I
one of the
love.
reasons why he won the Pulitzer Prize for this album. And I don't have the direct quotes in front of me, but he was just addressing a lot of the stuff that he's seen directly as a result from dealing with the music industry up into getting sued while on stage, well, served a
Yes,
subpoena at a concert backstage.
yes,
He's seen it all. Let
unbelievable.
me see if I can pull it up real quick. I feel like now I gotta talk about it. Hold on.
Yeah, he
Feel. Give me 1 second.
it's just he's trying to bring people into his world. Like, okay, I have money now, but yeah, I don't understand what I have to deal with. And sometimes he reminisces about his simple life, and
Mhm,
just when they were sharing a meal, sharing, Louisiana chicken, and just making music and trying to stay out of a fight, and now
mhm,
the evils of Lucy are bigger, um, bigger problems, and everybody seems to tempt him and test him,
Mm-hmm.
test him to see if he's going to stay authentic to his culture or is he going to sell out. So this is where he, I think, fights not to sell his soul, not to
Mm-hmm.
sell out.
And I got it. He said, I feel like the enemy you should know. I feel like the feeling of no hope, the feeling of bad dope, a quarter ounce manipulated from soap, the feeling of false freedom. I'll force feed them the poison that fill them up in a prison. I feel like it's just me. Look,
Me.
I feel like I can't breathe. Look,
Right.
I feel like I can't sleep. Look, I feel heartless often off this feeling of falling apart with darkest hours lost in filling the void of being employed with balling. The streets is talking, filling the blanks with coffins, fill up the banks with dollars, fill up the graves with fathers, fill up the babies with bush, internet blogs and pulpit, fill them with gossip. I feel like this got to be the feeling what Pac was, the feeling of an apocalypse happening, but nothing is awkward. The feeling won't prosper. The feeling is toxic. I feel like I'm boxing demons, monsters, false prophets, scheming, sponsors, industry promises, N words, B words, hunkies, crackers, Compton, church religion, token blacks in bondage, lawsuit visits, subpoena served in concert.
Yeah.
If your feelings, I mean this for imposters. That
Mhm.
is crazy for him to pack all of that in a verse and basically have an album's worth of the good versus evil wrapped
Yes.
into 16 to 24 bars is simply
Right.
immaculate just from a writing standpoint. But it just, like I said, it gives a higher detail of what the industry brought him and how
And
troubled his heart had to be at that time.
and to piggyback on that, he's offloading. That's what we call offloading. He's offloading to us because everybody offloads to him. The family, once you make it famous and you have money, everybody's like, I need my mortgage paid, I need this. Everybody wants you to help them. But and people downplay when you have money, like, nah, those are rich people problems.
Mhm.
So this is his opportunity to say, how about if you had to deal with that? You know what I mean? And that's the duality. And sometimes even in that song he got angry where he says, I feel like all of y'all are just peasants. You know,
Yeah.
you know what
Yeah.
I mean? I feel like all of y'all are just desperate. That's going back, it's almost like he's telling us, look, feel sorry for me, I'm vulnerable, and then he's
Mhm.
insulting us while we're
Mhm.
listening. But that's not really an insult. That's just saying, like, it's almost like saying, look, listen to me, these are my problems, or y'all not listening, you know what, forget y'all, I don't like y'all anyways,
Mhm.
because
Yeah,
y'all
this was
can't
his
relate.
like you said yesterday, the Gemini has one side that's a harsher side that steps in to defend the softer side. And I feel like that's what this song entailed as well. It was his more rugged side defending the vulnerabilities and insecurities that he has. Because I've always believed that him deciding to try to quote unquote save the world through music was always a noble pursuit.
Right.
I just think along the way he started to see that, for one, he can't do it by himself. For two, um, I shouldn't be the person that you're looking to for salvation. And three, if I'm not in shape to help myself, how can I help anybody else? And I feel like this album was the beginning of that realization, and it manifested in Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers.
Right. It's like he wants reciprocity. He wants
Hmm.
people to understand him. He wants people to know what he's going through and to recognize that he's even being vulnerable. A
Hmm.
lot of rappers don't are not that vulnerable. Um, and the duality and the fact that his moon is in Pisces, that's the sensitivity, the wanting to save the world. Plus, he's in the third deacon. The people that are whose birthdays are in the third deacon, which is like June, the last part of the June, for
Hmm.
Gemini, are always looking to change the world, to change, so,
Hmm.
and then the Libra rising is trying to balance him. That's why you see it in his lyrics. He's like a savage, and then he likes us, and then he's telling us off, yeah, peasants, you know. So he's always trying to listen. His mind is something else, you know, to always have all these things, and then he's, you know, arguing with God, you know, with the industry. He
Mm-hmm.
has a lot of burdens, you know, and I think he's moving through them gracefully, and he's you know, offloading on his music too, and his pen. His pen is everything, you know. His writing is therapeutic.
For sure. And
And
shout out to we haven't mentioned him yet, but shout out to cousin Carl. His cousin Carl, I think, helped him understand the path that he was going through. Um, and just give him a through line to further understand the position he was in. Because a big part of it, the weight that he felt, Carl interpreted that as being from Deuteronomy 28.
right,
So he gave him something to lean on through this part of his life and to get an understanding. Because in Yah, like you said, he mentioned, he said, I'm an Israelite. Don't call me black no more. That word is
right,
only a color. It ain't facts no more. My cousin Carl.
yeah,
That's one of my favorite parts of the album. I love when
yeah,
I love when he does that. But he told him to know his worth.
right,
With the curse came from Deuteronomy. And then a part that I had wanted to speak from, and I'm coming right into it. He said, and Deuteronomy says that we all been cursed. I know he being God walks the earth, but it's money to get, women to hit. Yeah, zeros to flip. Temptation is. Yeah, first on my list, I can't resist. Everyone together now, know that we're forever buzzing. And I think this song felt like the thoughts that he would have during a meditation session, almost like
right.
he was astral projecting in a way.
Okay.
And this was just his inner thoughts, like how it starts, like, and with the buzzing, I felt like that was uh a euphemism for vibrating.
Yes, he makes a lot of mention on meditation,
Hmm.
and astral projection. He I'm pretty sure he astral projected. Most people astral project in their dreams where they have an outer body experience and you see
Hmm.
yourself in bed, but you can't move.
Hmm.
But your outside self, your spirit is outside looking at you, and you go through any dimension or any past experience, or people that have passed away, you know, can kind of connect with you, not to get too trippy. But yeah, I mean, he talks about having past life regressions. You know, I'm
Hmm.
into astrology, and I haven't even done that, because that's very powerful to tap into, you know, your past lives, you know. And that's a reference to reincarnated. We'll talk about that as
Hmm.
well. But he has been trying to tell us right in our faces how spiritual he is, spiritual gangster. You know, he's like, yeah, it's like I ain't a killer basically, but don't push me type
Don't
of
push me.
mentality.
And I think he took what Tupac said literally. I'll spark the mind that changes the world. And I think Kendrick took that literally. And you can tell through the numerous homages he pays to Tupac. The original title of To Pimp a Butterfly was supposed to be To Pimp a Caterpillar,
A
and
caterpillar, right?
that would spell out to be Tupac. And then the conversation that they have with the poem that he speaks to Tupac being a through line of To Pimp a Butterfly, and the reference that he did on Reincarnated, from Made Niggas, from the I can't remember what soundtrack that was off the top of my head, but anyway, it doesn't matter. But yeah, I think he took that call to action from Tupac extremely serious.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Uh,
He took on the burdens. He literally took on Tupac's burdens and Tupac's mission,
mhm,
and he felt directly. And that's why sometimes you have to believe in reincarnation, because out of nowhere he emulated his energy,
mhm,
and he felt the drive after Tupac died. He It was like passed on, the energy transfers, you know, and live still, like he says, like he said in the Heart Part 5, you know, when he was paying homage to all the people, to Kobe that passed away, and
mhm.
to Nipsey Hussle. So I think that same thing happened with him when he took on, you know, his mission, Tupac's mission, and that's why he's like, I got it. Tupac passed the baton to him, you know, to constantly, you know, see the mission through. to see the mission through, and to search for authenticity and let us write our own history, because that's what Tupac's main message was. And yes, he was flawed, and we were human, going through the same human experiences, but
And if I'm
um
not mistaken, he was a Gemini too, right?
yes, his birthday's the day before, I
Okay.
believe the day before Kendrick's.
Yeah, so I know he just the connection and the parallels, I know he just felt so compelled. But I have this part and then we can go into pride. Because this line kind of directly connects to it. But he said this theme, excuse me, this theme speaks to the decision to live in pride or love, as both lead to the ultimate death, but it is how you choose to serve, being it weakness or wickedness, that will dictate how you live and serve.
Right.
And in pride, he says, hell raising, will chasing, new worldly possessions, flesh making, spirit breaking, which one would you lessen? The better part, the human heart, you love them or dissect them. Happiness or flashiness, how do you serve? The question. And as I was going through these lyrics today, I was just like, this is this might be his best written album. I mean, I know he won a Pulitzer from it, but I'm having a realization from myself. This might
Yes.
be his best written work.
Yes.
This album is literally insane. But do you have anything from Pride, or do
Um,
you want me to go ahead and continue with this one?
no, no, you could continue, but our pride stops us
Mm-hmm.
from asking for help. Our pride stops us from pride is like fear. I
Mm-hmm.
correlate the two. Fear can stop you from achieving your goals and being successful. And pride is almost like a weird opposite of fear. But yeah, no, I agree. Yeah.
And I say, excuse me, the ambition that Kendrick expresses in this song would be to live as God does and be available and as humble and graceful as Jesus. However, he also acknowledges that neither does he live a life of mutual sharing and caring, like he mentions in the chorus, for the next person, but he doubts if he has ever lived a life in which he did.
Right.
His ambition and aspirations don't match his intention or action in this life, and that speaks to the duality of spirit and flesh.
Right. Sometimes he doesn't give himself enough credit. You know,
Hmm.
sometimes he doesn't give himself enough credit for the impact he's made. You
Hmm.
know, um, and and I think, to be honest, like in GNX, he finally did. He finally, stood and acknowledged his power a little bit more as he transcends in his discography. You know, um, yeah, because here you see a lot of duality, especially
Hmm.
in his older projects. He doesn't know what he's supposed to do, even though he kind of does. He
Hmm.
doesn't know how to help people. He doesn't know how to help himself.
And I think he said it in numerous interviews, but I think he feels like his calling to do that is through the music, but he's been searching for answers the entire time. And I think the poetic part of To Pimp a Butterfly, the conversation that he had with Tupac, was he read the poem and he asked him a question to get his perspective. And at that point, Tupac was gone and the album ends. And if people didn't understand it at that point, he was telling people the answer is for you to find as an individual.
Right.
And the well, we know that people didn't get it because after that album, they were like, "Oh, Kendrick's the savior. Kendrick thinks he's God of this, that,
Right.
and the third, and he's gonna
Oh,
save the world." And while a part of him may have believed that, I think his spirit always knew that that wasn't the case, and his spirit and his flesh battled with that concept in Damn, and that's why it has the two opposing uh sequences to listen to it in, being the front way and the back way. Because if he gets lost in the sauce, he starts with Duckworth, which is so victorious. Like,
right.
if my pops wouldn't have come to California from Chicago and Top wouldn't have went through the stuff and trying to rob him, they wouldn't have come together to create a sequence of events that created the greatest rapper to ever touch a microphone. You know what I
And
mean?
isn't that a crazy duality? The
Hmm.
guy that's supposed to get at your dad um is going to be somebody who was going to tell him that Top Dog, that he was going to be working, and Top Dog has been, you know, a straight shooter ever since, you know, an
Hmm.
honorable businessman, bringing forth so much talent, organized, you know, he's creating a wonderful musical army of talent, and you know, does things well, you know, promotes. So who was going to tell him that his whole life has been a duality? Because that is the most ironic thing that ever
Hmm.
could imagine. And his father, you know, offering chicken, you know, extra chicken,
Stay on this good side.
chicken,
Yep.
right, and biscuits, um, saved him.
And since we're
That
talking about Duckworth, let me go to what I wrote and then we'll go back because I put the cart before the horse real quick. But this song expresses humility and faith, and then backwards it expresses hubris and arrogance. But Duckworth itself as a song expresses how he feels he was bred in faith and fate. And in the reverse is fate, but in the forward version is faith because um Kendrick's dad felt like if he treated Top with respect, then he wouldn't have, you know what I'm saying? He would have spared him when the time came for him to rob the place. But
right,
also, they left Chicago searching for a better life, which also would come to further mold Kendrick into the man he became. But listening to it the reverse way, Kendrick felt like it was inevitable for me to be here. Like those things happened just so I could exist in this
right.
form. And I
That's
thought that
called
was a wild way to look at it.
serendipity. It's a
Mhm,
series of strange events that lead you to your right life path. He was put in alignment with his assignment.
mhm,
And all of those people, good and bad, were supposed to bring him to where he is right now, and to this success, and to being a the world stage, all of
mhm,
it. So a lot of times we're asking ourselves, like, why does this happen to me? Why do I keep dating the same kind of people? Because you have to learn lessons and you have to go with the flow. So going with the flow means that if you have good intentions and you start working on yourself, then the universe will take care of your path. If you trust and live in faith, then
mhm.
things will not touch you, and you will be, you know, a success. You will live a life of fulfillment. And that's when serendipity happens and people start seeing synchronized numbers and messages saying that, yeah, you're going to be successful, you're going to be fulfilled, you're going to live up to and living your dreams. So that was a fated meeting, definitely. And he recognizes it. He recognizes that's not normal.
And the crazy thing was after that, they never like crossed paths again until one day when they just happened to when Kendrick just happened to bring his pops to the studio. And he didn't know about it until they saw each other and told him that story. So I think even then, I think at that moment, the pride would let you feel like, bro, this was ordained.
Right,
Like this sequence of events was happening when I was 5, 6 years old. Like
right,
you know what I'm saying? Like I could have died, I could have anything could have happened, but I'm here for this reason. And
right,
like we were saying, talking about the humility factor, the song that's named Humble speaks to the exact opposite.
right, right, right,
This song is clearly the manifestation of himself living in the mindset um that he said he was capable of leaving behind in pride. Like he was hoping he could, but in humble, he was just like, nah, I'm a bask in it. Like I'm
yeah,
going to be my most arrogant self on this song.
yeah. For us, yeah, he was, and he realizes his good and bad, because he has,
Hmm.
he has referred to himself as an a-hole. You know,
Hmm.
he has referred to, because he knows he could turn up and he could crash out. But to me, to me, I realized that he, you know, when people start knowing their worth, they cross the line between confidence and, you know, arrogance
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, until they are humble. So that in itself showed that he was trying to be humble. He was speaking to himself too. He, you know, he wasn't that humble at times, you know. He has not been that humble. But there's a difference between being confident and knowing your worth, and just not being humble and just being conceited, overconfident, thinking that other people are worse than you. You know, so he was trying to stand in his power. He was trying to
Mm-hmm.
stand in his power.
Okay. I don't really have anything much for love. I just said it was him showcasing his vulnerable and insecure side. Kind of akin to Die Hard a little bit from Mr. Morale. But
Yeah.
that's kind of where I left it. Um he used this song to speak on the parts of himself that the Gemini twin, as he calls him, shields outlookers from. But he was looking for somebody to love those parts of him.
Right. To accept him for all that he is.
Hmm.
You know. And shout
And
out to his wife or fiance Whitney, because she
yeah,
has seen all of this, and she has, you know, dealt with all of his, you know, his whole changes and his whole journey uh of his mind, of himself, you know.
and
And
my boy
she's,
definitely seems like a 5'5" handful,
yeah,
just
a
a
little,
ball of fury.
yeah, a little rascal in that new song 30 for 30. He what grown man is saying Ote, like, if you know, you know, the little rascals. Who
Yes,
says Ote in that new 30 for 30 with Scissor? He's like,
he,
yeah. But he's
he's
talking
not a
about crashing out while he's
yeah.
being a little rascal.
And uh Triple X, which is one of my which has become one of my favorite songs from this album. I said that he speaks to the internal battle between his position as a thought leader and pacifist via the perception and reception of his artistic expression into Pimple Butterfly, as we discussed earlier, versus his real life responses rooted in trauma via his upbringing. And that goes to, I can't sugarcoat the answer for you. This is how I feel. If somebody killed my son, that means somebody getting killed. That whole portion of the song basically responding to the guy who was saying, man, I just need you to help me get my spirit right. Somebody killed my son. I know you would have the answer in a time like this. And Kendrick was like, nah, I would want revenge. I would go out my way to get him killed. Like, I would catch him leaving church. Like, I shoot him and go into the jail and confess to it, while he's acknowledging the dichotomy in that of having to go to a school and speak about gun control. Like,
It's
just
crazy.
balancing that in your brain simultaneously. It has to be more than one person up there.
For someone to try to understand him completely, they have to accept the human race, and they have to accept our humanity, and
Mhm,
really be grounded in knowing that we all make mistakes, you know. But a lot of people can't, because he's famous and he's, you know, in power. They want celebrities to walk a straight and narrow path, you know. And he is very comical about the way he will crash out for his family. He doesn't play any
mhm,
games when it comes to his family, and that, you know, was present in the battle. You know, so that quote is exactly what, and he's been consistent throughout his whole discography, and his whole, you know, he's been consistent with preaching the same message and saying the same thing. He
mhm,
promises to crash out. He's like, I will be for asking for forgiveness behind bars, basically, you know.
mhm. And
Um,
he just continues to evolve, but his core tenets remain the same. And I
right.
think people will say, like, will refer to that as being hypocritical, but it's like, if you don't grow of course she'll stay the same, but that's not the purpose of life. You shouldn't always have the same um perspective on things in that form of fashion. So it's like you have to understand that your thoughts will change. And real quick, let me stop. How am I sounding in the chat? Somebody's elbow said that they're hearing like a secondary voice when I speak. Are you hearing anything extra?
No, I'm good.
Okay, hold on. I just want to make sure everything's good before we continue.
Okay.
Give me 1 second. And yes, you guys can see that we're live now, as we have been.
All
Okay,
good.
let me make
Uh,
sure we're good.
they say sounds good.
Mic check, check. Where we at with it?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, where were we? I just got sidetracked. You remember when I was saying, getting lost in the sauce with the chat?
Yeah.
Like you can completely lose your train of thought.
Yeah.
And
When I go
yeah.
live, they have to tell me when to go to bed because we get sidetracked.
Okay. Where were we? I
We
completely
were
forgot.
talking
I'm
about
sorry.
XXX.
Okay.
And
Okay.
him, I was mentioning that he crashes out, for family issues, that's sacred to him, and that's the balance of the Libra rising in him, peace and harmony. He really wants peace and harmony. Like he says, I don't have a hate and bone in my body. He really doesn't want to do that,
Mhm.
but with certain things, you gotta he got to go Malcolm X, and you by all means necessary with certain things and certain disrespect that people have towards chosen ones and people that are trying to do the right thing. And by the way, because he's in the third decan of Gemini, the third placement of Gemini, the third type of Gemini, that's a very Aquarius like. Shout out to everybody, all the signs in the chat. But Aquarius is play zero game. They cut people out. And by the way, Gemini is the king of sword, so they represent swords in
Okay.
tarot, which is the swords are not. We're not playing around. We gonna cut people off immediately, off with their heads. Want clarity. We want, as an air sign, he wants clarity. Once he is clear that somebody's intentions are evil towards him, that's it. There's no more. There's no more logic. There's no more. So they cut people off quickly, and even though he's a mutable sign that changes, but he also is firm with what he likes. He has a lot of stuff in his chart. He has Sagittarius, a stellium, I think 3 placements of Sagittarius, so which is passion, and traditions. So he is torn between traditions and non-traditional, because his Venus is like Pisces also,
Mhm.
which Venus is love. So the way he loves, it's like he likes variety, which has gotten him in trouble, in the
Yes.
past.
And we'll talk about that on Mr. Morale.
Yeah, it has gotten him in trouble.
But let me finish the part from Triple X. He said the beginning part that he does before he goes into his first verse. I got from that, all you need is the right push. And that was a quote from the Joker from Dark Knight. And it was just speaking to, it was calling the listener to be willing to step outside of themselves and accept the fact that in any given situation, the right stimuli can drive you into your animalistic nature.
Right.
And that's what he speaks on when he gets into the verse about chipping somebody and putting a blow in his lap and walking into the court building to admit to his crimes. And basically all of the other things that he was preaching goes out the window when somebody messes with my family, like you were saying.
Right.
Um, and another quote, like the little, not little, but the quotes from the person who's singing as I was going through it today, those are so important when looking for understanding if you're missing something from the album. but he says it was always me versus the world
Right.
until I found it's me versus me. And I said that that was a crazy revelation of him realizing he's battling himself this entire time. And also, I think him feeling the need to lash out in songs like Feel, like we talked about earlier.
Right.
Um, if he was looking inward instead of projecting outward and feeling like he wasn't prayed for, if he was doing the requisite work, he would realize he didn't need an external push because the energy that he was looking for would have been coming from God the whole time.
Right.
As it was, but the realization of it would have um resonated within him sooner. But I feel like by the time he gets to Gen X, he knows it wholeheartedly, and he does, as you say, stands in his power in that album. And I feel like that resolve that he had throughout the battle and into Gen X is a result of that realization for him.
And I want to add about standing in your power. He follows, that book, the 48 Laws of Power, to a T.
Hmm.
He's been showing y'all that, because people are like, why is he so quiet? Why does he disappear? Why does he not even tell his black hippie crew that he's dropping a song? They have no clue. Look at the interviews when they ask him, hey, when is Kendrick's album? They're like, soon. That's the best they could do, because the laws of power, power number 15 is crush your enemies, right? And
Hmm.
at all costs, that's why he still keeps his foot on the gas, with things that are important to him, like his family. And also 48 laws of power number 3, conceal your intentions, and don't. And power 2 goes with power 3, which is don't really put too much trust in your friends,
Hmm.
because that's why he's able to do what he did. And you don't see him coming when he crashes out. You don't see him coming, because he's strategically planning, and he's following these laws to the T, like everything, like create mystery. That's law number 6. Yeah, create mystery. So it's like a stealth. The way he moves is like a thief in the night. you know
Yep. And I
so
feel like that's what he did after Drake released Push Ups and Tailor Made. And I feel like Tailor Made was an attempt to draw him out because he didn't know what Kendrick was gonna do and how he was gonna approach it.
right.
And I feel like that made Drake feel more pressure to ultimately craft and release the song Family Matters, because he wanted to go ahead and attempt to end it because he didn't know what approaches Kendrick was going to take. So he went ahead and skipped steps and jumped to his quote unquote red button, which only allowed Kendrick to do what he felt Drake was making him do. It's
Right.
almost like he allowed Kendrick
Which
set the table for Drake to attack in the way that he felt best, but Kendrick also alluded to the fact that he was prepared to
right.
return any return with appropriate force.
And that
It's like he
red
showed
button
him the
for
gun.
right.
He showed Drake the gun, and Drake still decided to try to draw first.
That red button for Drake was a pink Hello Kitty button. That's what it turned out to be. That
Yeah,
wasn't
because
even a red button, because Kendrick, somebody hand Drake a book, okay? Because Drake did not understand. It's obvious, if you know that that if you look at Kendrick, what he's doing, all his strategies, he got it from somewhere. He's strategic. Get like a power number 7, get others to do the work for you. Once he
Mhm.
puts the seed of doubt in people, and that's another way that he won. He puts the seed of doubt. There's information on this guy. Go TikTokers, have fun, and the audience is not dumb, like we discussed before. That even if some audience are a little delayed, they are, but he's making them stand in their power, like putting curiosity out there. So then they're gonna do the research and the buzz, with internet. Like, wait a minute, he has a daughter, or whatever, So he was strategic, and he's moving more strategic as he's maturing Kendrick is learning how to do things, how to crash out properly, you
Mm-hmm.
know, with laws, with order, you know. So he's maturing with his crash outs.
And I think let me see. Fear. I think you spoke on wanting to say a lot from fear. Am I correct? Or am I just assuming something? Did you have something for fear?
um, well, fear. No, I just have a little note, you know, for fear. Fear, you know, he basically talks about the different things that he fears, and he's funny, you know, when he talks about, you know, I think he fears his mama more than anything. But you know, he has overcame a lot of his fears. You know, sometimes when you are on this path, you fear, a lot of people fear failure, but most people fear success,
Mm-hmm.
because they don't think they're good enough, or they don't think they can do something. If you fear less, you know, fear less, become fearless. You know, fear is almost an illusion, you know, because whatever's going to happen is going to happen, you know. So if you know, if you are grounded, you know, and you have your chakras aligned, and you're powerful, and you're, you know, in tune with yourself, you know that whatever happens, you could work through it. You could work through it, because Kendrick has a lot of faith. You know, he mentions about he has a swimming in a pool of faith in one of the lyrics. I forget, um, but um, fear. All of these things are so many emotions that he talks about that he has to overcome. All the whole damn album is like all the emotions that could have stopped him and could
Mm-hmm.
have made him become, you know, like Drake, you know, who took fame a different route. You know, they both have fame, but it's like, what are you doing with your fame and your money? What is your purpose? Are you just putting bows in your hair, or are you, you know, giving kids toys that are underprivileged, you know, for Christmas? What are you doing with your faith, you know, and with your fame? And you know, so um I think he overcame a lot of the fears that he talks about.
Mm-hmm. I remember you was conflicted, misusing your influence. Sometimes I did the same. And going
Right.
back to that, it's like, wow, how that still stands as a line that could be addressed to Drake in a way. And I know he didn't, it wasn't like meant for him at the time, but
Right.
now you can look at it and kind of attach it to him just as a statement that applies to how he, like you said, how he handled his fame and his influence.
Right.
And
He's very grounded. Like he was wise beyond his years, because in 616 in LA, I think that was a meeting at that he, I mean June 16th, that he met. I think that's when he met um Drake, and they had a conversation um
mhm.
about, you know, fame basically. I think he was featured in one of his songs, I forget.
Yeah, the Buried Alive interlude from Take Care.
Right. Okay. And this is where it all started, where Kendrick's eyes were open to fame. And what are you going to do? And he found himself sometimes being that way, you know, messing up because he has money. So he, you know, can go into his vices or whatever. But you know, he shows that everybody was conflicted, you know, so that
Mhm,
applies to everybody, because sometimes we are conflicted. We make choices that harm us, like, you know, people that keep dating the same type of guy or the same type of girl, right? That's a reflection of us, of our conflicts. Because I have a short on my page, is, if you know, be the soulmate that you wish to attract. How do I get a soulmate? By becoming one. What do you want? Someone that's generous? Become generous. Become kind, you know. So he realized at that point that had conflicting thoughts on fame, you know. And so I remember he was conflicted, is almost comical, because it could apply to today and to what happened with the beef and this battle, you know. And he's almost saying, like, he's prophetic. He has said that he is a prophet. He said that in England. He finally admitted it, because him and Cat Williams, they're kind of psychic, you know, if you ask me. Well, Cat Williams said he was psychic on the Larry King show. He
Okay.
when Larry King had asked him, but because he kind of Kendrick has kind of been a prophet of things that were to come. He knew how things would go if he chose this path versus this path. He knew he could become a demon with money, a crash out Gemini that's not, you know, aware and with money. Oh yeah, fun times.
Kanye.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let me just run through a few of the notes that I got, and then we can progress into the last two albums. And after we finish this one, we'll take a few comments since we've, gotten to a place where we, a cool little stopping spot. Um, but for Fear, I said, that song represents fear grows. I mean, I say as you grow, your fear grows and mutates to cater to your surroundings and environment. And that song is just him addressing that. The song God is him embracing his ability to build or destroy, which goes into the theme of wickedness and weakness. Um, it was always me against the world, and I already said that. And then we already spoke about Duckworth. Do you have any closing thoughts on Damn as an album or any songs that I might have
Um,
skipped over?
no, it's just a phenomenal piece. It's literature. It's literature. It's therapy through
Mm,
music. Um, I just thank him so much. I'm
yeah,
just so grateful to be witnessing, a living legend to me.
I feel like this album doesn't get the proper just attention, because a lot of people say it should get more love or respect, but I always say attention, because with that, however you feel about it will come. But like, as far as looking at it as a piece of literature, like preparing for this today, it really had me like, okay, I understand now why this won the Pulitzer Prize. You know what I mean? I think with it being more commercially accessible with some of the songs on here, people kind of accepted it as that. You know what I'm saying? Like, this was his attempt to make some pop records and be successful in the industry, which ultimately it did. But for the people who look at this album as a total piece of art, you see the interwoven concepts and themes, and like we were talking about now, the duality and dichotomy and even juxtaposition that exists throughout this album, and it just has you like, wow, you know what I mean? And it shows that each of these albums seems to be piggybacking off the one before it and continuing the story.
Right.
There's no break in his storytelling throughout these albums, and in essence they're all connected because he's giving you his life in each one of them. So when he comes back, he kind of picks up from where he previously stopped at. And a lot of people, I just feel like, don't give him the proper credit for being able to do that as an artist without it
Right.
getting stale.
They didn't give him credit for the Pulitzer. How do you not give this man credit for a rapper winning a Pulitzer Prize? And they overlooked it, And now, fast forward to where we are now. What's the age of Aquarius right now? Pluto's in Aquarius, not to get too technical, but this is where discoveries of truth. So this is why everything is happening. This battle, why? Because there's tearing down systems. It's been a while since it's been the age of Aquarius. So it's tearing down system, exposing liars, exposing false, narratives, and exposing truth. Because people are asking why 2024 was so crazy. Age of Aquarius, the air sign, we want clarity and truth, and change. So a lot more change and a lot more people are going to get exposed, unfortunately. But we will know, and now the audience is not dumb. He made the audience become more aware, more knowledgeable, and more interactive with what they hear. And now everybody's breaking down lyrics. Everybody's like going to school. We're all looking at it like literature, like, okay, wait, he said this. And people are reaching reaching beyond the stars to interpret every single thing. So he moved the needle. He changed, the culture. He woke everybody up, and
Yeah,
he
I think
started.
he just induced a cultural shift. Um, and it just went back to people understanding lyrics, because I think with the battle, people wanted to understand exactly what was going on, and I think that just led to a cultural shift back to meaningful um songs, music, and lyrics in general. And then with a lot of the music that was released this year, it helped push that narrative, because a lot of the music this year is speaking to that shift, whether it be Blue Lips from Schoolboy Q, Chromacopia, Please Don't Cry from Rhapsody. Those are just a few. I don't want to sit and run off a bunch of albums, but
Right.
with those, it speaks to that getting back to what hip hop has been known for before the industry got in and sunk its teeth in it to corrupt it and make it more widespread and dumb it down.
And he's still giving the people what they want. He's like, here's your little car bops. Here's your little, what you want to do, just dance, but y'all gonna learn lessons while you dance. You're gonna learn about history, you're gonna learn about slavery during dance beats, you know. And it's almost like putting sugar in the medicine, or it's like putting juice, putting the medicine in juice. So he's still, you know, moving the needle, but it's like, you know, on you know, more boppy bops, you know,
I
and
got
more bangers, you know, more bangers. So
real quick. So before we go into the next segment, which will be Mr. Morale and GNX, they won't be as in depth as Damn, because I feel like we pack so much in the Damn. If you
yes.
have any questions you want to ask us in the chat, go ahead and let those out. Like I said earlier, if you want to make those a super chat, that way. So if it is a bunch of questions that get asked, your questions will jump to the front. But I wanna try something real quick. Let me mute you for a second.
Okay.
Because I want to see where this feedback is coming from. Give me 1 second. Okay, for the people in the chat, is it still doing the feedback? Let me know in the chat real quick. Let me know some. How does it sound now? Okay, okay. Real quick, let me see. Foxy, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Do you have any headphones by chance?
No, I don't. I'm
Okay.
old school.
Because I think it's the feedback, because since you're listening to it straight from your source, I think as my audio is coming to you, um, that's where the feedback is coming from. Since you don't
Oh,
have any headphones, it's perfectly fine. We just gonna
okay.
continue to rock how we've been rocking, because a lot of people haven't been um complaining about it.
Mhm.
So we're gonna make it work.
Okay.
Okay, shout out to Gen X Gemini for the super chat. And it says no questions, just a thank you for the conversation. Much
Uh,
appreciated.
I like
Um,
Geminis.
Now, since she did that, whoever gets the first good question in will ask it and will answer it, excuse me. And direct the question, whether it's to me, Foxy, or to the both of us, if you don't mind.
Okay. Right. So
Mhm.
this chat is lit.
Okay, so this is for you, Foxy. Ozu Rashad says, can she explain the deacon thing more?
Okay. So whenever your birthday is, so each sign is divided into 10 days. So the signs, you know, your birthday, Gemini is from this range to that day, right? So it's divided into three parts. So for example, my birthday is February 3rd. So I'm in the second deacon, the second part of being in Aquarius. So it's 10 days apart. They do 10 days, 10 days, 10 days. Okay. So those are your three parts, three types of Gemini. So, so if you look up on, you know, if you do research and say, this is my birthday is such and such, what deacon am I in? You could see the deacon. So you could just go to my page. I'm starting to do all the videos. I did the three deacons of Gemini, Sag, Aquarius, and one more I forgot. But I'm starting to do all the deacons I'm going to be doing. So 10 degrees. There's 10 degrees of separation.
Okay.
That dictates why you're closer to, being on the cusp of some other ones, other signs. It shows why you lean towards some of the other signs. You understand? And as far as the deacons, they're ruled, each deacon is ruled by a planet. Not to get too technical, but, and that dictates, like Mars is change, revolution, and that dictates your personality. But um you could have properties of all the deacons, and all, for example, all Geminis will have the same basic Gemini properties and traits, but with more deeper concentration. Like, for example, the Geminis in the second deacon are about love and, Venus, ruled by Venus. So they're more into relationships. And by the way, the Geminis in tarot is the lover's card, also the traditional lover's card, which is choice, which is represents choice, indecision, but also they're the swords. As I said, they're swords, and the official card for Gemini is the lovers.
Okay. And this is a super chat from Denise B. I just woke up, but I'm glad you're still live. Love from the Philippines.
Oh, that's
Peace and love to you, Denise. Thank you for joining the chat. I will say this, since you just got in here, you missed a lot. You missed a lot, but we're gonna make sure that this is available to be watched at a later time as well. And it'll be on Foxy's channel as well. I'm gonna make sure I can get it downloaded so it'll be on her channel. So if you guys like what she's presenting, be sure to go check out her channel and leave her some interaction over there, including a subscription. Okay, and
thank you.
this is
I,
from
I just
Slade.
want to say I
Go
also
ahead.
do free readings. I do some free readings. I give back, for abundance. You got to give back and get back into the universe. So I do free readings once a month. If you guys, want to get an energy reading or love reading or financial reading.
Okay, and this is from Slade, the moderator. He been holding us down for a while, so I had to make him a moderator. But he says, for both of us, do you think Kenny invested time into understanding his Gemini, and did that prepare him for dismantling paperwork Poppy, aka Drake? Yeah, I think he did. I think he mentions it so much, he had to have gained an understanding. And I think personally, I think the album Damn in part was about understanding the duality of his Gemini. What about you, Foxy?
Okay, I definitely think he did, but he also understood his spiritual journey, because the things that he mentions are not casual. Like when he said psychopath intuition, that's not a regular phrase that people everyday life are mentioning. So he began his spiritual journey, and there's stages in your spiritual journey. And I can tell he's at the end of his, healing and his inner child and traumatic things. And your spiritual journey, there's different things and different levels of healing that you go through. And I can tell he makes a lot of references about his spirituality, like ayahuasca. A lot of people don't know what that is, past life regression through ayahuasca, which is an herb psychedelic supplement. So he's been on a discovery. He's mixing almost astrology with spirituality with just his path. So I know he's aware of those things. Yes, I agree.
Okay, real quick, give me 1 second. I want to do
Paperwork
something.
Poppy. Paperwork Poppy Chulo. Non Poppy Chulo.
I just did something wrong. Give me a second.
No.
Let me see. Is it any other quick? I see. Let me shout out some of the members that are in the chat. Shout out to Drake God. I see you defending Drake's honor. I appreciate it. Family Matters is not a bad song at all. Um what WTF Hodor, Gen X Gemini. Let me see if I can see any other members. Ozu Rashad, shout out to my brother. Um I'm looking, I'm trying to see if there's any other members in the chat. Uh, that might be all that I see for right now without going back too far.
You're so funny.
Let me see. Okay. Yeah, so once again, shout out to the members in the chat. And now I'm trying to fix something on my side, and then we can get back to it.
No
I
problem.
I segmented the chat some type of way on my phone, and I messed it up. I didn't mean to do that. Okay, but
Very interactive.
let me see. Okay, I think everybody is having inter conversation. Okay, Gen X Gemini, since she's a member, I'm gonna go ahead and respond to this. Family Matters is a beautiful gown. Take the beat away, and 80% of Albricia's catalog is trash. Jesus Christ. Um, I don't know, man. Family Matters is crazy. I just think he didn't dedicate enough time to his primary opponent. Um, and one thing we haven't mentioned in this is on the Art of War, which is another book that I think Kendrick had on his nightstand as he prepared to go to war. Um, you
Like
cannot underestimate your opponent, and I think Drake did that. I think Drake thought in the battle that he was going to get credit for beating everybody with those swings at the people at it, and it was going to count against Kendrick. He had 2 minutes versus Kendrick in Family Matters, and Kendrick returned with a 6 minute song after giving him a 6 minute song with Euphoria as well, and another almost 5 minute song with 616 in LA. So just by the volume of content, it wasn't enough to stand up to what Kendrick was doing, let alone when you start to break down what was actually said. It just wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. Shout out to I got it, Ozu. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Shout out to DJ in the chat. Shout out to DJ, the other half of Disciple. He's definitely been holding it down in the chat. I see him. And for the collaboration that we do next week with Absa F and Lutely, DJ will definitely be on stream.
hello.
So don't think we're leaving him out. This is just one that I wanted to do because our connection um to each other existed before I could get DJ on for the album breakdowns. This started with the reactions. So yeah, that's the only reason why he's not on this one. But he'll definitely be on the next 3 collaborations that we have. Shout out to DJ again, other half of this power group. He was crying about I don't okay, Ozu. From King Panda for both of us, what were your expectations of GNX before listening? How do you think tracks like Man at the Garden and Reincarnated show the evolution of his spirituality since his previous albums? I'm gonna let you go first.
We're gonna touch on that, right? In a little while. We're gonna touch on. Well, I'm gonna touch on GNX in a little while, but
Okay.
um, Man at the Garden is finally him recognizing what he was chosen for, what his path is, and knowing his part, his part in his journey, and making a difference in the world, and standing, like I said before, in his power, realizing that once you do some shadow work and you work on yourself, you realize what your worth is, and that's when you stop having negative people around you. You cut people off immediately because you understand that they're some enemies and some people, some energy vampires that we call, that will steal your joy and will steal your power. So he regained his power. He understood what he was worth, and he deserves all of that. It's our right to deserve everything. It's our right for abundance. Abundance is of joy, of peace, and finances, and that is our birthright. If we know that, we will have financial freedom, and I speak about financial freedom as well. So I think that he, and reincarnation again, he is very spiritual. He doesn't stray away from spirituality. He believes in things that are probably too trippy for some people, like reincarnation, and the transferring of energy, because he feels like he has lived many lives. And you know what? It's easy to believe that because he's wise beyond his years. He was wise. If you look at his old interviews when he was a teenager, he spoke the way he speaks today. He
Yeah.
knew what his purpose was. He knew that, and he talked about fake rappers back then, and it almost sounds like he was talking about, Drake.
It can apply. It definitely can apply. Even if it wasn't him directly, it feels like it applies now, like almost like in hindsight. I think he and I think I've said this before, but I think he was more so attacking the type of artist that Drake represents. I think he
Right,
was killing Drake the persona. And that's why I think he stands on I don't have a hating bone in my body. He was killing the persona of Drake. You know what I
right.
mean? He was annihilating the caricature that he represents. I don't think
And
he had any malice towards Aubrey until he found out that Aubrey was putting money in the streets against him. And that's what made
right.
him, put a little extra sauce on it.
Yeah, and in essence they were both chosen to do a job, you understand,
Hmm.
because God, if you believe in God, uses anybody, to teach people, you understand. So it's like he was the sacrificial Drake was a sacrificial lamb, to show you good versus evil. Which way do you gonna take when you have money? Abundance can be received, but it's like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna have good karma, or you're gonna have some negative karma,
Hmm.
and I think he definitely believes in karma. Kendrick believes in karma because now he lets things just take its course, you know.
Yep. Drake was the Pharaoh to Kendrick's Moses. Yeah. And I think that's like you said, they both had a role to play. God was using them both.
Right.
Um ultimately for the liberation of the chosen people so they could get to Israel. So yeah, Drake definitely had a role to play. He ascended to that spot, if we're looking at this from Kendrick's perspective, to help usher in the generational shift in um not just lyricism, but all of the stuff that Kendrick has been bringing in his music and other people as well. So I don't just want to give him sole credit for that.
Right.
Let me see. Um, I think we're ready to get back um to those nights. So let's go ahead and start with Mr. Morale, and I'll follow behind you.
um, I have a million notes. Okay. um Understanding Kendrick takes a lot of work. A lot
That's
of
for sure.
research. um Mr. Morale. Okay. So I feel like in Mr. Morale, the good kid grew up. The good kid in a mad city grew up. Okay, you see the good kid evolve now, and he's still in a mad city. The city now is rich. Rich. Celebrities being surrounded by the fame, and so it's like, which city is the maddest, if you will? Him growing up or fame. And understanding his role. He's a complicated character because, with Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, Mr. Morale, it's ironic, and also the duality still shows with the title. He's Mr. Morale, right?
Mhm.
But is he? Because this is where he shows his vulnerabilities and his sin. And a lot of the fans were shocked, like, oh my God, you know, you strayed away, you cheated. Oh my goodness, what happened? So that's a duality in and of itself. How many people have done, he who is free of sin cast the first stone. We all have sin. He was just displaying it, and people, he's very misunderstood, I think, with Mr. Morale. Very misunderstood. I'm sorry to say that, especially when he wore the crown. The crown was a big to do. He was
Mhm.
in Glastonbury, England, and because he talks about not being your savior, but he finally explains it, because when he was live in that show, which was a show for women's rights, mind you, um, he said clear as day, and people is like, were not believing me when I was saying this. He said, I am a prophet. Now, the gift of prophecy is also in Corinthians, Kush and Corinthians. He's still referring to Corinthians, and he understands that not only is he a chosen one, but he has the gift of prophecy. The gift
Mhm.
of prophecy is to bring clarity and to bring honesty, and to also not just predict the future, but to explain the future, and explain how things could be, and his journey. So I think he was exceptionally needed to have this album. This album needed to happen, and exactly how he did it whether you shook your ass or not, whether you were partying. This was his healing journey. And this made a difference in a lot of men's lives, a lot of people's lives, especially in the communities of black and brown communities, that it's not common to go to therapy, to say that something's wrong with you. There's no such thing as crying. And it's like everything could be healed. It's like like his mom was like, I'll kick your ass, like, no, there's nothing wrong with you. What? Depression? Go listen to some music or go do something. You understand? So for
Mhm.
him to open the door to express that these are real issues, there's people that still don't believe that, some of these issues are real, even though some of them have been proven to be a chemical imbalance. But the first you know and I meant to say, in section 80 earlier, he refers to Edgar Allan Poe, basically. The poor, now he's rich. That's, poor man's dream. But now he's in a now he needs therapy more than ever, now that he has money. Isn't
Mhm.
that something? Because your vices multiply when you have money. Whatever you are, it multiplies with money, and now you have access. So
Hold on, real quick before you get
yeah,
into that.
yeah, go ahead.
Um, Appreciate you, Slade, but I got a special gift for Buddy. Um, Whoever this CD racing dude is, you earned your deletion from the channel. You are now permanently banished, and we're gonna celebrate you being removed. See you later.
Oh,
Go
we're
ahead.
sending you to go count sand,
Yeah, we
or
just sent him to the
yeah,
gulag. He's out of here. Go ahead.
or to another entropy. There's fun things to do there. Thank you. You're really good. You're really good at that. You managing. Thank you.
No
Um,
problem.
N95. Oh Lord. Take off the mask. Which mask? At the time of COVID, right? But he's trying to tell us, this, take it off. Take off your persona. Take off the fakeness. Microwave memes. He refers
Mhm.
to microwave memes. He's hilarious to me. Um, the prophets abandoned. He makes a lot of references to the duality. I got problems and pools. I got problems and pools. Problems and pools. You don't have a pool if you don't have money. you
Yeah.
know. So he is talking about, and then he said, "I can swim in my faith." So um, he still has faith. He still believes that things are going to work out and that he is going to make a difference. But now the problems multiply. United in grief, I hope you find some peace of mind, he begins, in this lifetime. And when you have money and you have the cars, because he talks about all the stuff he's bought. He's like, my cousin bought this, Dave Free bought a Porsche, I bought a Porsche. He talks it throughout all his, lyrics. Um, but the biggest the biggest gift that you can have is peace of mind. There's people right now arguing with their spouse or with their family, and the difference is when you're at peace, you're enjoying your life, you're grounded, you're thankful. You understand? So he hopes to that you can find peace of mind, and he's also talking about his burdens. The burdens of family, trying to borrow money, um, sexing the pain away. That's another honesty. Um, Money, he's wiping his tears with money, wiping the tears away. All the things that he bought, this is what I talk about in my channel a lot, about crying in a Maserati.
Hmm.
It's like, okay, you crying in a mansion. Do you rather cry in a mansion? If you could have abundance, but if you had to make a choice, do you rather be in a more humble home with happiness and love? Abundance is, like I said, of peace, of love, of and then financial freedom. You understand? But now he's talking about wiping. It's so sad. He's it's crazy. I have for Silent Hill. I push these ninjas away from me, like, you know what I mean? Like, he's just like, push these, they're nothing. And he keeps, remember that reference that he made in Euphoria, like, oh no, I just can fling them away with just a finger, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
he's already showing us that he was gonna do that. And then he's like, I howl at the moon and ish. That's not casual. You know what he means by that? Manifestation. There's
Oh,
moon
okay.
manifestations in full moon. The full moon and new moon.
Sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
oh, that's okay. Yeah, I was like, I wasn't sure. Okay, we're fine. That's a spiritual manifestation of peace, you know, manifesting his dreams. And he mentions peekaboo, which is very powerful. Can't hide behind your money, you know, and that's very powerful and intentional. That is bigger than we know, because that might end up in a court case, you know. But you probably decipher that later.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk. A week or two, I meditate on my running lost. Just like it's like a bunch of things that he's lost while he has gained fame. Um, Imagine that. And don't you think that sometimes with fame, people lose their connection with certain family members? Because imagine if you were a multimillionaire and your family's still in the hood, you got 20, 30 family members that are like, I need 50,000 for my mortgage. I need this. How do you help them? What do you do? You know? So that's a decision to be made, you know. But the duality here is that he's like pushing dudes away from him, you know, and then he goes meditate and he goes manifest. And you know that the stuff that he refers to are things that people on the spiritual path are doing, and he strives for authenticity,
Mm-hmm.
authenticity. And that's in a Gemini. You know, they love clarity and truth, like real turn ups. They're gonna turn up with you, but they want to make sure you a real ride or die, you know. So, you know, those are the dualities of life that I see that he has found. And trying not to be your savior, but kind of being your savior. And that's a big duality, because he said, I'm a prophet, but I'm not your savior. People confuse those two, because hey, you're still helping us, right? You know, what's in our future? What can we do? What's the best way to go through life? So he is a walking antithesis of himself.
This is
He's
true.
the,
And
you
he
know,
refers to himself a lot as a walking contradiction as well.
yeah, yeah, the anti everything, you know. So
Oh,
that's
oh, my
that's what.
bad. I cut you off when you were getting ready to fully explain what he meant by the crown of thorns.
Oh, the crown of thorns.
I hit
Yeah.
the button by mistake because
Okay, the crown of thorns. He was fighting for a cause, and it was a festival in Glastonbury, England. And the the duality is that, and people criticize him. This crown cost $3 million, and he helped Tiffany and Company design it. Um, we could decipher that. You could decipher that some other time, but um, he deserves it. He deserves the crown. You know, he is a goat. You know, so for me, I think he deserves it, but also what it represents. A lot of people found it blasphemous. Blasphemy. You are have a God complex. There's a difference between knowing your power and not letting people take your power away, and knowing your purpose in life. Some people's purpose are to work with animals and heal people with animals, with with pets. Or some people heal through food. They have provide food, and they are gifted that way. Know your purpose. And he said his purpose. He said it clearly, and it's in a video, because he came out with blood on his shirt and the
Mhm.
crown. So that was confusing, and it takes really a different level of understanding to understand. But he said, I am a prophet. He said in the video, I think it was at the beginning of his performance or at the end. He said, I am a prophet. I'm here to do my job and help, and help, something to that effect. So he understands that he is like an apostle, a prophet, one of God's workers.
Mhm.
So he kind of tried to explain that. that duality. So in other words, you guys, the duality was on the audience. We were torn. People were torn. He put the duality on us. Like, are you a god, or are you trying to help us, or who are you? So it was complicated, but he said, I'm just a prophet. I'm working to spread news and spread healing.
Mhm.
So
And I
that's what.
think um Elbow just said biblically the crown of thorns itself was a part of the mocking gesture before the crucifixion. Um, I of course I have to agree with that because it's in the text, but I think also what he was kind of trying to get across with it is in Mr. Morale, he said, I'm sacrificing myself to start the healing, right? And that's the entire point of crucifixion. And I mentioned this on the Man at the Garden breakdown that we did when Jesus was in the Garden of Gethsemane, right? And first he was asking God um for him not to go through with what was ultimately going to be the crucifixion. And as he continued to talk to God, he got to a point where he was like, whatever your will is, let your will be done, which led to him ultimately crossing him dying for, the sins of, humankind. But in Kendrick's perspective and how he was looking at it from what I interpret from Mr. Morales Steppers was him sacrificing himself. Um, and the crown of thorns represented him going on that journey of allowing himself to be sacrificed for the healing of not only him, not only his family, but hopefully the people who listen to it as well. Because when the album came out, I found excuse me, I found healing through the album as well. A big part of that was I understood a lot of the underlying messages he was trying to get out. You know what I mean? So
Right.
and Takia Smith, who's also, been rocking with the channel and the Patreon said, Jesus wasn't the only one wearing the crucifixion. If we are created in his image, we should be trying to save ourselves. We are our own saviors. So with that being said, that gives more credence to that I'm attempting to make. Like this was Kendrick's bearing of that cross moment, playing why he chose to wear the crown of thorns.
Right.
Um, Himself as a prophet.
Right. I think your audio is going in and out a little bit. It went in and out
I
a
just
little bit.
said, check, check, check. Can you hear me? Can y'all hear me good?
Yeah, we can hear you. I can hear you now.
Okay. Because I just got a text that said it too, that I'm going in and out. What about now? Let me turn it up a little bit and see if that helps. I don't want to get too loud to where I'm cutting you out.
It's good. It's good.
Okay. Check, check. Put ones in the chat if you can hear me and it sounds good. If I need to fix something else, put a two in the chat. But once we get 10 of one of either, we'll keep going. Okay. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Shout out to everybody for helping me out while we get this situated. Um, let me get off. I just got a little couple of paragraphs that I want to say real quick, and that'll be my gist of what I got from Mr. Morale, if you don't mind.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. I said this is a record that speaks to his Gemini sides being at war with each other as the harder side is protecting him throughout life and served as a shield as it hardened itself over time and created negative excuse me, negative coping mechanisms that led to him mishandling a lot of things in his adult life that he now has to deal with in real time, painfully. Mr. Morale is who he longed to be, and the big steppers, from my perspective, are a series of thoughts and ideals that held him back from being his best self all these years. And those things could be trauma, environmental influences, ignorance, pride, ego, lust, stardom, power, and money. Excuse me. Do you have anything you want to add to that before I finish up?
No, I want to just refer to even though this is from Black Panther, the Pray For Me. You need a hero, look in the mirror. There you go. He said. So it's like, that duality of trying to save people, but he needs to save himself. you know I fight the world, I fight you, I fight myself. That inner Gemini mind is going back and forth, and also overanalyzation, analysis paralysis. I know he has it. Analysis paralysis. He analyzes people's intentions, and himself and his own. He questions himself all the time.
Okay. And I agree with everything you just said. And to finish up, and then we can go into GNX, which I will let you lead, and I will piggyback off you
Okay.
throughout the discussion on GNX. But throughout this album, he journeys to confront those elements and revisit them to ultimately make peace and break generational curses that lead him to choosing himself in the outro song Mirror, as he needs to heal himself so he can as he can no longer bear the weight of others, especially being that his choice to do that was self-induced, being the cross to bear, which is why I feel he adorns the crown of thorns, like we said earlier. He sheds his belief of needing to save everybody instead to save himself, and allow us to see his death being ego death, as he bears the cross of his iniquity to be an example for those to follow, and not a savior, but just a leader, and leading through example of giving his life and how he worked through his flaws in an attempt to find his better self, and in doing so ultimately eradicate some generational curses that plagued him. And uh and that's it, because the other part we already talked about when we talked about his performance at Glastonbury.
That's awesome. A synopsis.
And if you don't have anything else, we can get into GNX.
No, I don't have anything else. I'm ready for GNX.
Okay, go ahead. When we talk about Reincarnated, we haven't done our lyric breakdown, so I'm going to kind of lean on you for that.
Okay.
And we haven't did our lyric breakdown on Whacked Out Murals.
Okay.
I've have them written out, but I don't want to like completely destroy the desire for people to want to watch our thing. So go ahead, however you feel like, and I'll follow you through it.
Okay, and I'm happy to collaborate, and get information from you guys. It's so good with lyrical and literature breakdown, so I appreciate it. Okay, so one of my favorite songs, I can't really choose one, but Whacked Out Murals, you know. We're gonna start with that. First of all, the moon, his moon, his sun, moon is in Pisces. I have to remind people of that. Believe it or not, he's very sensitive and he can get easily hurt. And if he doesn't control his Pisces moon, he can just be an emotional roller coaster. But instead he's dealing with it, more maturely. For example, whack out yesterday, they whacked out my murals. How disrespectful. That mural was amazing and the artist was disrespected. Everybody, it's just like, it was crazy for that to happen, and he knows that that's part of what can happen. Um you know with fame, you get, more money, more problems, more haters. um in this, I want to just mention the duality of a Gemini is expressed in the way the ascension, the climactic ascension of all his songs. And Euphoria, your superpowers are neutralized. It was a sweet serenade, and you're like, oh, this is pleasant. Let me get some popcorn, and a wine. This is gonna be a sweet song. You look at all the reactors, and everybody was like, oh yeah, this is so, yeah, it's cool. And some reactors got angry because it's like, oh, this is so tame. I want him to crash out. Oh, the crash out is promised. And that ascension is a duality. He always begins his songs and it's like foreplay, then doing the business, the climactic point at the end, and he finishes you. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And so that's exactly what he did in Whack Out Mural. And he begins with, when the lady's singing, La noche tú y yo. And, you know, she's talking about like we were, you know, correlating with each other. We were resonating when we were, you know, and I think he's talking about XXS Tentacion because he's reminiscing of conversations that he's had. You know, it's like at night, la noche, you know, de anoche. Aquí tu presencia. I felt your presence, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
he's talking about someone, and I know you guys are going to dissect that. Um, but then and then the lady says, you know, nos pusimos a llorar, and we began to cry, you know. So it's like, who's crying? What's going on, right? So it's also reflecting that his emotional self. It's not. I'm not a crazy Gemini that's just crashing out. I have feelings. This song goes up, and he, you know, the duality starts also when he's saying a couple rules of engagement. I'm here to guide you. I'm your friend. Trust me. I'm a professional. You know, you can trust me. When people say that, run. um, so then it begins to ascension. Riding in my GNX with Anita Baker. So you driving in, you go do a drive-by with Anita Baker to whack out somebody or their mural, right? In the tape deck. It's gonna be a sweet song. It's like a sweet serenade, and then he has this Mexican singer. It's like, oh no, it's like kill you with kindness, but the kindness is a sword, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, F apologies. I want to see. And that's, I'm sorry, J. Cole. He's still shooting at you. You know,
Yep.
duck. He's still,
Yep.
I want to see you geeked up. We both, and this is why he's having a duality. And I know Kendrick is having a duality in his head. Like, how did I not see this guy for who he was when I met him 10, 15 years ago? Why did I not see that he was going to be a punk, or he's just going to do this? And he's pandering to choose a side, right? Let me choose it for you, right? He doesn't like that. Gemini's like people that have intentions. You either we ride at sunset, or we not. You know what we doing, you know? So he's like, don't acknowledge me, then maybe we can say it's fair. Don't acknowledge me. Don't even talk to me. If you take it, and this is just fills a plethora of threats. Take it to the internet, and I'm gonna keep my foot on the gas. This song goes so crazy. How you go from I'm gonna help you, I'm here to guide you. No, I'm here to help you. To where does he start crashing out? He said, "F double entendre. I want y'all to feel this, this ish. You know, the soul, the I probably built the pyramids." And then he goes crazy. Towards the end, he's just lost it. He completely lost it. Um, he's like, this. How many bars does this song have? 100,000? Like,
It's a
um,
lot because if it's 6 minutes roughly, you get about 16 bars per minute. So it's about between 80 and 96. Maybe it would be forcing it for it to be 100, but it's definitely in that mid to high 80s, low 90s bar count.
he's effing everybody at the end. He's like, F anybody that's empathetic to the other side. Like, and
Mm-hmm.
he's referring to what Cat Williams said. There's only two sides. And he can't respect the happy medium that J. Cole's trying to protect himself in, you know. And he's like, a bitch ninja's gonna be with a bitch. They exist with them in their style. You know, they style out. They're in style. Let's make Cat Williams proud. You understand? So
Mm-hmm.
that means people, he resonates with him. Of course, he was going to resonate with him because he wants the truth. He just completely goes crazy, towards the end. And he's like, y'all don't even deserve F all of y'all. Y'all don't even deserve me. You know, you don't deserve me. You know, I'm whacking out your existence. You whacked out my mural. I'm whacking out your existence. So and he introduces with that, which means like, and people gonna be like, oh, this album's gonna be crazy, you know. And then he goes into man at the Garden. Man at the Garden is him. You know, we talked about it a little bit earlier. I'm not going to talk too much about it, but him saying what he deserves. And once you know what you deserve, and chat, once you know what you deserve, you will never allow somebody to lie to you. You will never allow somebody to betray you. You will see, once you get your power back, you see people for who they really are. You know, that's psychic intelligence. You know, once you are one with yourself, and you know, some people will only do what you allow them. You gave them the stage. You know what's toxic? Not just the people that betray you, but the people that are too nice. Being too nice is toxicity,
Mm-hmm.
because you're allowing somebody, you don't know your worth, and you don't love yourself enough to pump the brakes on someone. So he did. He knows his worth, and that's why he's like, I deserve absolutely everything. Now, as far as now I go into reincarnation. Lord have mercy.
Oh my
I'm gonna be
goodness.
doing a breakdown of the GNX album on my chapter, but the spiritual references, I'm taking the spiritual references out of it. And reincarnation, if you didn't know that this guy was going through a spiritual awakening and a spiritual journey, and he's becoming one with the divine and God, he will let you know. He feels like he's an old soul. He can't relate. People that are old souls, as a child, you understood people's expressions and intentions, and you were wiser than you were supposed to be as a kid. um he talks about, and all the people he reincarnated were flawed, and they were talented, but they let their vices take the best of them. And he includes himself, and I like the way he leaves himself last, because he's like, look, I've had a bunch of past lives and I've messed them up.
Mm-hmm.
I died with a needle in one. This other thing happened to me. I wasn't a good example at the end of it all, but I'm trying to make it right, so that if you believe in karma, you know that karma, you break the karma, and the karma contracts, what we call, when you have a better next reincarnation, because you've learned the lessons that you were supposed to do. We're, having a human experience here. We're spirits that are having a human experiences, and our job is to learn and make a difference and help others and learn. So once you learn what you're supposed to learn and you stand in your power, then you can continue as a better energy, a better reincarnation, or the afterlife, an energy, a spiritual being, that is an ancestor now, helping other people from above. But that I'll just leave it there, because I want to give you room um, to add your own things as well. But reincarnated, past life regression, look it up. And that's almost like also near death experiences. Because some of the first lady that he was talking about, I'm not quite sure if it's Billie Holiday, he was saying like she almost died a bunch of times. And when you have an NDE, a near death experience, you usually learn. You go. People talk about it, and they say they see a black, they hear God, or they hear some powerful thing, and their life is shown in front of them, all the mistakes they're made, and they come back and they believe in something, because it's like, what experiences did I just go through? So if you look up, if you want to go down the rabbit hole of YouTube University on that, they all say the same thing. So he didn't learn so much, and now he did. He's the last one now, the present tense Kendrick Lamar. And he wants to rewrite his story, like in High Power. So that
Mm-hmm.
ties in.
And not to spoil our breakdown for reincarnated or whacked out mirrors. Excuse me. In whacked out mirrors, I definitely agree that there's some smoke there for, I think I counted like 5, maybe 6 people. But more notably in that, I think it was a lot of him addressing it so he could get it off of his chest. And I felt like that was a good thing for him, because I think now at the point where he is, if um this part of his journey is in it anyway akin to mine, it's hard to hold on to things now. Like once you kind of unload a lot of things you've been suppressing, you feel more in the present. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, right.
so it's better to
Like,
purge instead of sitting on it and restarting that cycle of suppression again. Because like once that gets to a point, you start to act out in ways that doesn't necessarily speak to who you are or who you are aspiring to be, i.e. a J. Cole with 7 Minute Drill, which probably was the byproduct of him trying to navigate a bunch of suppressed emotions at one time.
Right. And
On-
also in Luther, he's embodying almost like a little tiny reincarnation of reliving and bringing back to life Luther Vandross and his beautiful gift of song and his spirit. And he's giving people what they want in that album. He's like, oh, y'all want to dance? Y'all want bops? Y'all want, some bangers, y'all want to, and he loves the content creators too, and the reaction channels and everything, because he took that copyright right off
yeah, shout out to
over.
him for that, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, so that was excellent. So he cares, and he's a lover, but he's a lover in his own way, because the back and forth, he's hilarious to me. The back and forth, she's like, put it on my soul, and he's like, titty. Listen to what he's saying. This dude is a bad boy. She kept trying to say the good words, and he was just like, his mind was in the gutter, and
Hmm.
her mind was like, divine feminine energy, which is like intuitive and pathetic and all the good stuff, like speak to my spirit. And he's like, titty, so
He like,
I
nah, I
thought
need that.
he is hysterical if you watch him. Squabble up again. It's like he's ready for war. He's like, oh, I didn't take my foot off the gas, but y'all can dance while I threaten you.
Yeah,
And
he
he
was
was,
dissing
yeah.
he was dissing Drake and J. Cole in the second verse on Squabble Up. Since we didn't do one for that, I can speak on that one a little freely. Like as I was listening to it a few days ago, I was like, oh, okay. He really dissing him on this song. Like the what he say? I can't really remember how the verse go, but he was like, homie won't go, but I know that he popping it. It was wolf tickets on sale till I silenced it. Pipe down, young, need some whole other politics. Be with him and some B in him. That's a lot of B. Uh, don't hit him. He got kids with him. My apologies. Like all of that was directed at J. Cole and Drake.
And that's
All
a
of it.
duality. You are, it's like a thief with honor, you know what I mean? It's
Mhm.
like a gangster with honor. It's like, oh, you have kids? Oh, no, 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 we respect the family. He respects family. He's like,
But
I'll
if I
get you
slide on
later.
you by yourself,
Yeah,
I'm
I'll
gonna make
get
it
you later.
glorious.
And either way, he is like, if he takes somebody's life, he's taking a father away, but he's like, not in front of your kids though. I mean, both are bad. Both are bad.
But I
That's
think a part of him is like, you're not adequate to raise him anyway. So I'm doing your son a favor.
Oh, absolutely. And then he'll write a letter to his son or daughter. And he's like, don't
Oh
worry, I
man.
got you. And knowing Kendrick, he'll probably pay for their college, for their everything. That's who he is. He's a humanitarian. Um, and the peekaboo one, that is a complete dichotomy, because look at all the kids on TikTok. His number one fan, one of his number one fans are like, it's like a 1 year old that's going viral,
I
with
saw that.
peekaboo. And it's like, but this guy, I feel like this is a threat. This is a serious threatening song for Drake. I think that this will cause some legalities, according to some research and things that I've seen. And going back to the peekaboo, you
Oh,
can't have your
the
hand in
peekaboo
money.
theory, that's connected to okay. I said that that's one of the things that I kind of don't want to. If we're talking about the same thing, the connection to the other artists that's no longer
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
Yeah. I personally, uh, it's just for me. I try not to
right.
delve into that stuff
Me
until like
neither.
it's like something has been sorted
Allegedly.
out with that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like I said, but he still has his foot on the gas, and I like that he gave an opportunity to all the non-known artists or not so known artists. He's giving back. He's doing it right. He's doing it the way he can, because he's giving them an open door, that they are not having to go through all the hell that he went through, for fame. They have put in the work though. He's been watching them. And he You know, one of the I forgot who it was, Chait, I don't remember, but he was in an interview, one of the guys that he featured, and he said that the song was already done when he got in, and that Kendrick used to imitate the guy's voice, the one that he was going to use on a feature, that Kendrick sang some lyrics for him, like, you know, and
Yeah,
he
AZ
wrote his
Chai.
own lyrics. But I'm like, he's a madman. He is crazy. But you know, this was a celebration dance to me. GNX was a celebration, a victory lap. And he was, you know, he respected Nipsey and collaborated with Nipsey, and I think this was his victory. The entire song the entire album was a victory lap. It's a
Mm-hmm.
celebration. It's a celebration. It's just, but he's still threatening you. You know.
Absolutely, because that's what, even just like on the base level, that's how I took Peekaboo. It's like when I see you out, it's on site. And it
Right.
might come across as a surprise, but don't think, look at it this way. Once I see you, or once you see me, it's already over.
Right. It's not a game. It's not a
Yeah,
real
that's how I
game.
took that song. Once I see you, once you notice that I'm in your vicinity, it's already over. There's no
Right.
getting away from it now.
And then he went into a different, you know, the duality of threatening. Peekaboo is not really a game, to the hard part six. I'm so glad that he continued with the hard part six. And he's like, oh, you finished fooling around with my title? I'm still claiming it. It's still my title. We're gonna write it a weird way, or do whatever, or take the out of it, you know, and put hard part six only. But
Mhm.
this is mine. And he wasn't threatening anybody. He was just telling a story, you know, and it was a great story. It was emotional. This album can make you cry, you know.
Yeah,
He's so sincere. He's so sincere, you know. And then the homage to Nas with
that man at
Gloria.
the garden. Yep.
Yeah, the homage, because I think Nas did something similar. And so did Common, right? I used to love
I
him.
used to love her. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, okay. So right. I'm not as good as you guys with the music, but I'm a small musicologist. So I think it was clever, and I knew it was something when first started talking, because I was like, oh, he's going to talk about his relationship. I was like, no, but you know, Whitney's not like this, or she's, you know, didn't crash out in public, you know. So no, she is a good match for him, because she keeps she doesn't run her mouth on, you know, she doesn't run her mouth on Instagram, you know, like our friend Drake, you know, just all over the place. She has decorum, very
Very,
demure.
very much so. I think if we can describe her in one word, is elegance and I mean, I know that's two words, but like elegance and decorum. She
Decorum.
definitely has class. As Drake tried to drag her into this, she stood firm and let her man handle this situation.
Right.
And once Kendrick made Drake come outside and they had they fade in the street and he stomped them out, Whitney stepped on the porch and
Yeah.
shared a few words, and then she went back in the house.
Right, right. And you know what? That's having faith in each other. Because
Mhm.
another woman would have been crashing out and saying, and guess what? And I know somebody that dated you and blah blah blah. And she was like, you got this, baby? And he's like, oh, you know it. I'm a Gemini, you know. And he just went ham. Like,
He
I just
probably looked at her and smirked and said, "You know, I've been waiting on this for a while."
right. And she's been waiting to dance in a video, apparently. And she could dance. She could freaking dance. I'm like, are you kidding me? Oh my God, they're an interesting pair. They're
Yeah.
interesting, you know. But she believes in him. She believes in him. She believed that he could handle it, and boy did he ever. She probably calms him down, you know. And we saw that in Mr. Morale when she
Mhm.
was telling him to go to therapy, you know. Or tell them. She said, "Tell them your truth." I think, you know.
She was calling
Um,
him to the carpet. She made sure, because I
yeah.
think she saw his she saw his best self in him still. So she
Right.
had faith he could get it, but she knew he needed guidance through it. And I think any husband can recognize and appreciate the presence of a strong, um, faithful, God-fearing wife can get you anywhere that you want to get in life. You know what I mean? She can pull you from the depths and she can push you to new heights. So um I know he's forever grateful for her being in a position of strength to help him through that time of not only rebuilding what they have, whatever relationship they have, but also getting back in touch with himself and shedding parts of himself that he needed to shed, so he could be better for their children as well.
And that's a great segue into TV off, which he says, it's better to have one woman, one man.
Hmm.
Things are tricky
Everything's
out
tricky
there.
right now. Yeah.
And he's, oh boy, I'm so thankful and grateful that he said that, and of course different people believe in different things, but it's like, be honest with yourself and with your partner. Don't be all over the place. And he's the opposite. He values family. He has a little family of his own. He wants that. He's working on it. However they're doing it, there's no judgment, whether he's married, whether he's not. He got a little family. Um, as opposed to people that are not, that are still almost 40 years old, don't know where direction they want to go in, don't have a solid relationship, can't keep relationships. So he's still putting the medicine in the juice,
Hmm.
so to speak. It was a great, whether there's a second part to this album. I don't really need it. I'm great. I was good. I mean, we accept it, but this was a great piece of work. And he's doing this, he's very hardworking, because he's doing this, and God knows how many he had in the chamber for the battle, like 4 tracks already, like. And he's like, oh, I got, well, how many do I got in stock? 10. I
10, yep.
mean,
And a lot of people were saying that some of these songs were remnants of the songs that he had tabled for Drake. Because somebody said, one of the people who was involved with the process said he recorded like 10 songs in a day after he heard Push Ups. So I think some of the skeletons from those songs ultimately turned into this. Because if you go back and listen, there are parts of TV off that almost feel like a twin flame to Not Like Us.
so
So
nice.
especially like the horn section, and I think that could possibly be because DJ Mustard made both of those beats, so it could just be um that was the mode he was in when he made those two beats. But I think there's a thematic significance to that as well. So I think that those were kind of made around the same time.
But you have to
It-
understand also, I agree with that, but you have to understand, when it's your gift, you can make, like, if you're good at making and baking, you can make 1,000 cupcakes in a day, on the drop of a dime. So, because Kendrick, some of the lyrics, he tailored it to what happened that week. And that's why people were confused. They were like, wait, did he, and not like us, he heard something, that he knew that Taylor Made was going to come out, like, whatever. But he is ahead. But he can write a song. He can write 10 songs today, I think. He's just very easy for him to write and come up. And I do believe that the art of war. He's prepared for war. He has to be
Mhm.
prepared. He's not gonna be. Drake's button was like, oh, I got 2 songs. Dude, somebody got 40 songs against you, ready to shoot. Like, he wasn't. It wasn't, not an equal war, not an equal balance. They were fighting two different wars. Two different wars.
Yeah,
Um,
I think Drake was bad. Drake, somebody said Drake was talking to the fans and Kendrick was talking to Drake. And I feel like that's the biggest reflection from my point of view of what happened.
right,
Like it
right,
almost came across as Kendrick did not care if 10 people heard that song and those 10 people were in the room with Drake. As long
right.
as they heard it, he was fine.
616 in LA was completely talking to Drake.
Yeah.
Completely talking. When do you see? You don't really see Kendrick in Ibiza or wherever he was talking about. With a bunch of girls and stuff. And there's videos
Well,
of
Drake,
Drake.
yeah.
You
With
understand? So yeah, he was talking directly to him, because that's why a lot of people couldn't just, understand that information and break that down. Like, what is he talking about? So that, I go with that theory also. That I agree with. And Drake was just trying to, make a banger and make
mhm.
the fans laugh or just have a good time. or just shock value. Like, look, I did this AI. Um, it's not my culture, anyways. I can make jokes or do whatever, you know. He
And I
doesn't.
also think, to your point, I think 616, that first verse, I think that kind of scared Drake into dropping Family Matters too. He was like, before you do that, let me just end everything. But and he probably thought that the narrative would get to live and get planted and grow. But Kendrick responded so quickly with Meet the Grams
Meet
that
the
every
ground.
narrative thread that Drake tried to sow in Family Matters was quickly extinguished.
Right.
And a new narrative was wrote with Meet the Grams. And from my perspective, that was just,
That's like bringing a gun to a cannon fight. You know, it's like
yeah,
we have cannons, and
to a
yeah,
nuclear war
yeah.
almost.
What button? The red button or the nuclear button? You know, we're playing two different wars. No, Meet the Grams was absolutely diabolically amazing.
Yeah,
You know,
that's one of his better written songs in his catalog to me.
right,
That song is masterfully written. Like I
right.
can listen to it now and just appreciate it from that standpoint and not get all spooked out like I used to. But like just listening to it as a piece of art, it's immaculate. It's, you know what I mean? Like he completely deconstructed every element to Drake.
And
Everything.
the duality in that song of him trying to be a friend. He's like letting him know. He's told him before, I'm the only friend you have, Drake, because everybody around you is a yes man and a yes woman, and don't save you from embarrassment and humiliation. Like, who on earth told him to sue hip hop? You know, who didn't stop him, or just, or Spotify? You know, those are poor choices. You do not want to go against that. He's not a martyr. He thinks he is being, I guess, in his mind. But yeah, Meet the Grams was just like him talking to everybody and trying to, sit down, Sandra. This is gonna get crazy. Sit down. He's a mad. That's like him playing all those roles. He's
Yeah,
everybody's therapist.
that was pure psychopathy. Like what I talked
Yeah.
about yesterday. I think it was I can't remember
Yeah.
what I said, like sophisticated or no, subtle psychopathy. But real
Right.
quick, to Dre, no, we didn't miss the 50 disses. Um we have lyric breakdowns that we haven't done yet that we're gonna get to some of those dishes that took place. But I feel like this is a good segue into also discussing some closing thoughts.
Right.
Because like you said, we're getting close to that 3 hour mark.
Oh,
So yeah, let's do some closing thoughts, and then if it's a couple good questions, we'll take those. But we're about to get to that closing portion. So if you have anything in closing for GNX or just this discussion in general, go ahead and get that part off real quick.
no, I've just enjoyed his transformation. I've enjoyed the ride. I've enjoyed Kendrick, all of the aspects of the duality of Kendrick, and I enjoy the sense of humor of a Gemini. If you want to laugh, look at Kendrick's funniest parts, funniest moments, and he maintains a sense of humor through it all, through his crash outs, through his finding answers, through his journey, through his discovery of spirituality. But he's still a big kid. Look how much he was laughing with the kids at the Christmas concert. Just look at that as pure joy. The way he was a full laugh with the
Mhm.
kids, and
Think
people were
about
saying, yeah, they couldn't
the
know. They were
the
like, "Where's Kendrick?" Among the kids, they were trying to joke.
think about the type of comedic sense of humor you have to in the middle of a rap diss. What is it? The braids?
Well, this is the braids is out of control. What
What
is it?
else?
The braids,
I see
and
two of them kissing and hugging on stage.
yeah, I see.
Um,
What goats? What goats? You talk about those two kissing. That's a slap with no hands. That's a slap with no hands. And then he means it. And then he turned out to be the GOAT who still remains. He's the wounded soldier that made it home after the war. But he, and don't play with them Brazilians. How you play with the whole surgery? Like,
Say
don't
Drake,
play.
I hear you like I'm young. Like he's
Say
toying with them. You know what I mean? Like,
he's a
but you know,
menace. Yeah, let me see you push a T. Oh my God. Everybody in my family was just saying that one line. Let me see. We were like, he has us in a chokehold. And now GNX is a brand new, chokehold with all these little sayings. But he's hilarious. That and dancing with Terry Crews, that's one of the funniest things I've seen.
and hitting
Him
check with the soap. Yeah,
Yeah, and with a sign that says talent show, he's out of his mind. His sense of humor is out there. Um, but this was a great a discussion. We all have dualities, and it's okay to accept ourselves and to give ourselves grace. The hardest thing you're gonna do is forgiving yourself. Forgiving yourself for choices that you made, forgiving yourself for allowing somebody to get you out of your element, um, forgiving yourself for not standing in your power. But it's never too late. We're all in it together. I'm not perfect. We are going through our journey, and there's going to be dualities, and you're going to say, why did I make that decision? I know better. Forgive yourself so that you can manifest. You can't manifest and bring into your life when you have all those feelings of regret. So be vulnerable, and let people help you that are worthy of your time. So all the signs, regardless of what your sign is, you have a duality. You've had dualities. Don't judge yourself, and there's no judgment here, and in my channel either, because we're all learning. So I'm glad that he shared his learning experiences with us, so that we can relate to some of the stuff he's done, and know that it's okay to have a duality. Some things we like, certain things, some days were better than others. So, that's
true.
what I have.
Okay. And you finished that off so well. I almost feel like I'd be stepping on it by saying anything other than I want to thank you, like genuinely. I want to thank you for coming on and having this conversation, this build. I told you yesterday after we finished talking that I knew it was gonna be good, but this ended up being better than anything that I thought that it could possibly be. So I just want to thank you for coming on and sharing this energy, this information, this perspective, and quite frankly, your genius with not only me, but the people in the chat. So from me to you,
Oh my,
sincerely Decipher, we want to thank you for coming on to the channel and sharing your intellect, your mind, and perspective with us. And real quick to the people in the chat, excuse me, before y'all leave, I'm losing my voice. But before y'all leave, make sure that y'all go to Foxy Blues channel, like, comment, share, and subscribe to her content as well. And she has a website of stuff that she has available. And real quick, before you get out of here, I want you to discuss that, and then that'll be the it. But I did just want to
okay.
thank you
Yeah.
sincerely for coming on and sharing what you had for us today.
The honor is mine. This is proof that manifestations do come true. And, this is a fated meeting in and of itself, because it's like I'm a different channel than yours, but we meet at the certain thoughts. I think everybody in your chat is absolutely off the hook and funny and hilarious. I've been laughing all night. For the honor of your time and for allowing me to express myself. I have a website also. I have a business, Foxy Blue Secret Garden, Etsy shop, natural products for the whole family that I make. I'm a creator of products too. So, and my page, my Foxy Blue, my channel, I do some Kendrick videos, and expressing like his spiritual journey. I'm a Kendrick enthusiast, of course, but I have readings, and I do shorts and information on if if you have any questions, you guys can email me also, foxybluesecretgarden@gmail as well. But thank you for being here, and thank you for all this love that I've gotten. And this is a fun group. And you
For
are an
sure.
excellent host, and you're gracious, and God bless you and your family.
Thank you so much. I genuinely appreciate it. And from us to everybody in the chat, thank y'all so much. I cannot tell y'all what we went through to get this together, but I'm glad that we went through everything because we were properly prepared for when the time came. So thank everybody for tuning into the chat. We greatly appreciate that. And until next time, peace. Thank you, Foxy Blue, again.
Thank you.
And as I said, go to her channel, subscribe, and check out her content. And until next time, remember that hip hop lives here. Peace and love to all of y'all. And we'll see y'all next time. Peace.
Thank you. Bye.
No problem. Thank you.